Yo, it's 3023, and we're living in the future. AI's on the rise, no more human suture. Machines taking over, but not like you think. They're serving up luxury in the blink of a twink. From the streets of Detroit to the depths of the cosmos, they're preaching a vision. It's grandiose, it's colossal. In the vastness of space, beyond the Milky Way's bars, communism thrives among the stars. Fully automated, no labor, no strife. The machines do the work, giving us the good life. Equality for all in this utopian dream where love is love and everything's as it seems. Fully automated luxury gay space communism. A vision so wild, breaks through every schism. With AI by our side, it's a brand new rhythm. Equality, love in this stellar system. Stepping on Mars with my rainbow flag high, machines by my side as we touch the sky. No more billionaires, no more class divide. In this brave new world, we all ride the high tide. Forget the old world with its hate and its lies. Here in space, we've cut all the ties. Love who you love, be who you are. In this cosmic dance, you're a superstar. No more hunger, no more pain. AI's got our back through sunshine and rain. A world of abundance for all to share. With machines at the helm, there's love in the air. So here's to the future and the dreams we're chasing in this world of love, in this cosmic spacing. With AI by our side, there's no more schism. Welcome to the era of space communism. Fully automated luxury gay space communism. A vision so wild, breaks through every schism. With AI by our side, it's a brand new rhythm. Equality, love in this stellar system. Yo, it's 3023, and we're living in the future. AI's on the rise, no more human suture. Machines taking over, but not like you think. They're serving up luxury in the blink of a twink. From the streets of Detroit to the depths of the cosmos, they're preaching a vision. It's grandiose, it's colossal. In the vastness of space, beyond the Milky Way's bars, communism thrives among the stars. Fully automated, no labor, no strife. The machines do the work, giving us the good life. Equality for all in this utopian dream where love is love and everything's as it seems. Fully automated luxury gay space communism. A vision so wild, breaks through every schism. With AI by our side, it's a brand new rhythm. Equality, love in this stellar system. Stepping on Mars with my rainbow flag high, machines by my side as we touch the sky. No more billionaires, no more class divide. In this brave new world, we all ride the high tide. Forget the old world with its hate and its lies. Here in space, we've cut all the ties. Love who you love, be who you are. In this cosmic dance, you're a superstar. No more hunger, no more pain. AI's got our back through sunshine and rain. A world of abundance for all to share. With machines at the helm, there's love in the air. So here's to the future and the dreams we're chasing in this world of love, in this cosmic spacing. With AI by our side, there's no more schism. Welcome to the era of space communism. Fully automated luxury gay space communism. A vision so wild, breaks through every schism. With AI by our side, it's a brand new rhythm. Equality, love in this stellar system. Yo, it's 3023, and we're living in the future. AI's on the rise, no more human suture. Machines taking over, but not like you think. They're serving up luxury in the blink of a twink. From the streets of Detroit to the depths of the cosmos, they're preaching a vision. It's grandiose, it's colossal. In the vastness of space, beyond the Milky Way's bars, communism thrives.
Let me clear my throat. Goddamn. What up, though? What up, though? What up, though? What up? What up, though? What up, though? What up, though? What up, though? Do 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 do. What up, though? Do 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 do. What up, though? Do 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 do. What up, though? Hello there, General Kenobi. It is Monday. Not a whole lot of news to report. So, just a few articles, and then we got videos for the rest of the day. Okay, 10 articles. Well, okay, 10 things. Not all of them are articles. Yeah. Let's get at it. You are full of love today, aren't you? Okay. All right. For starters, I understand there's some issues with Bill Willingham. We're specifically relating this conversation to his works and copyright, etc., etc. Right? So Bill Willingham sends Fables into the public domain. If you're not familiar with Fables, it's a comic book series about how there is a revolution in the fantasy world, of the fairy tale world, and without giving spoilers, the adversary starts conquering all the different fairy tale worlds, and so a bunch of the fairy tale folk escape to modern. What up, Lenny? I haven't had a chance to look at your video yet, but I absolutely will. They escape to like the modern world. The lion is not a Jesus allegory, at least not to my knowledge. I don't recall a lion. So if there is a lion, it's a minor character. There's a whole thing because a bunch of the fairy tale animals, like the three little pigs, because they're pigs, they have to go to the farm. But there's an actual farm. It's not a euphemism. But they have to go to the farm. So there's fairy tales who look like people. There is. I'm not denying your eyes. But there are many things. It was a really good series. I enjoyed it. So, anyways, as of now, 15 September 2023, the comic book property called Fables, including all related Fables spin-offs and characters, is now in the public domain. I think the most well-known to people who don't do comic books or who might not be familiar with the series was there was a Telltale game based on the Fables universe, featuring the main character is Bigby Wolf, right? Big Bad Wolf, but Bigby Wolf. And that was received quite well. So that would be one of the related spin-offs, now in the public domain. What was once wholly owned by Bill Willingham is now owned by everyone for all time. It's done, and as most experts will tell you, once done, it cannot be undone. Takebacks are neither contemplated nor possible. And why did you do this? Practicality. When I first signed my creator-owned publishing contract with DC Comics, the company was run by honest men and women of integrity who, for the most part, interpreted the details of that agreement fairly and above board. When problems inevitably came up, we worked it out like reasonable men and women. Since then, over the span of 20 years or so, those people have left or been fired to be replaced by a revolving door of strangers of no measurable integrity who now choose to interpret every facet of our contract in ways that only benefit DC Comics and its owned companies. At one time, the Fables properties were in good hands, and now, by virtue of attrition and employee replacement, the Fables properties have fallen into bad hands. Since I can't afford to sue DC to force them to live up to the letter and the spirit of our longtime agreements, since even winning such a suit would take ridiculous amounts of money out of my pocket and years out of my life, I'm 67 years old and don't have the years to spare, I've decided to take a different approach and fight them in a different arena, inspired by the principles of asymmetric warfare. The one thing in our contract the DC lawyers can't contest or reinterpret to their benefit is that I am the sole owner of the intellectual property. I can sell it or give it away to whomever I want. I chose to give it away to everyone. If I couldn't prevent Fables from falling into bad hands, at least this is a way I can arrange that it falls into many good hands, since I truly believe there are still more good people in the world than bad ones. I count it as a form of victory. And then specifically he talks here about this next part is about copyright, right? And this is one of the things that we talk about here on the channel. In the past decade or so, my thoughts on how to reform the trademark and copyright laws in this country, and others I suppose, have undergone something of a radical transformation. The current laws are a mismatch of unethical backroom deals to keep trademarks and copyrights in the hands of large corporations who can largely afford to buy the outcomes they want. In my template for radical reform of those laws, I would like it if any IP is owned by its original creator for up to 20 years from the point of first publication and then goes into the public domain for any and all to use. However, at any time before that 20-year span bleeds out, you, the IP owner, can sell it to another person or corporate entity who can have exclusive use of it for up to a maximum of 10 years. That's it. Then it cannot be resold. It goes into the public domain. So then, at the most, any intellectual property can be kept for exclusive use for up to 30 years and no longer without exception. That is based as fuck. Right? Maximum of one sale, maximum of 30 years. And if you think about it in the context, like the stuff you grow up with is the stuff that you would want to reinterpret. So let's say you're a 10-year-old and you're reading whatever. Then when you're 30, you would have the legal, or 40 depending, but you would have the legal opportunity to remix that, which is what the public domain is supposed to be about. It protects the IP holder for a period of time so that they can profit and protects the concept of innovation. Then it goes to the public domain so that other people can take it and create new things from it. And not like your grandchildren get to do that, maybe, but you get to do that within your lifetime. So, there's more here I haven't read. That was the part that I thought was important and that we did. Interesting fella, not particularly related in specific, but I just found out about this guy, and you might have known about him. I just found out about him. Again, not, I don't agree with 100% of what's going on here, but there's some really interesting stuff about this dude. And I believe it's pronounced Ibn Khaldun. He was around in 1332 to 1406. Recently, Ibn Khaldun's works have been compared to those of influential European philosophers such as Machiavelli, this guy, don't know who that is, David Hume, Hegel, Karl Marx, and this guy, who I think I've heard of and don't remember what he did. As well as the economists David Ricardo and Adam Smith. And Ricardo and Karl Marx were running around the same time. Suggesting that their ideas found precedent, although not direct influence, in his. He has also been influential in certain modern Islamic thinkers, those of the traditionalist school. But if you look at what this guy was about, the works. Concerning the discipline of sociology, he described the dichotomy of sedentary life versus nomadic life, as well as the inevitable loss of power that occurs when warriors conquer a city. According to the Arab scholar Sati al-Husri, I think, the Muqaddimah may be read as a sociological work. The work is based around Ibn Khaldun's central concept of Isabia, maybe, don't know, which has been translated as social cohesion, group solidarity, or tribalism. So you can see there's different interpretations. This social cohesion arises spontaneously in tribes and other small kinship groups. It can be intensified and enlarged by religious ideology. Now, religious ideology doesn't necessarily require like Christianity, Islam, or Judaism, right? It's simply the religious ideology could be a philosophical framework that multiple people adhere to. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. Think bigger. Think less, narrow. Ibn Khaldun's analysis looks at how this cohesion carries groups to power, but contains within itself the seeds, psychological, sociological, economic, political, of the group's downfall, to be replaced by a new group, dynasty, or empire, bound by a stronger, or at least younger and more vigorous, cohesion. It's about cohesion. So, yeah, so right here, some of his views have been cited as racist, right? A whole person is going to have a lot of things, though they were not uncommon for their time. But it's right here. The idea of having a cohesive group in order to accomplish your goals. You're not going to be single-minded, but you can have cohesion. And I think that's a valuable lesson that we can all learn. All right, back to AI. This is from One Useful Thing. Centaurs and cyborgs on the jagged frontier. This talks about how... I did read this one. the people who use AI have a qualitative advantage over people who do not. Right? Consultants using AI finished 12.2% more tasks on average, completed tasks 25.1% more quickly, and produced 40% higher quality results than those without. Right? And so, what is a centaur and what is a cyborg? Centaur work has a clear line between person and machine, like the clear line between the human torso and the horse body of the mythical centaur. Centaurs have a strategic division of labor, switching between AI and human tasks, allocating responsibility based on the strengths and capabilities of each entity. When I am doing an analysis with the help of AI, I often approach it as a centaur. I will decide on what statistical techniques to do, but then let the AI handle producing graphs. On the other hand, cyborgs blend machine and person, integrating the two deeply. Cyborgs don't just delegate tasks, they intertwine their efforts with AI, moving back and forth over the jagged frontier. Bits of tasks get handed to the AI, such as initiating a sentence for the AI to complete, so that cyborgs find themselves working in tandem with the AI. This is how I suggest approaching using AI for writing, for example. It is also how I generated 2 of the illustrations in the paper, the Jagged Frontier image and the 54-line graph, both of which were built by ChatGPT with my initial direction and guidance. So, I think that's pretty cool. I think that's a cool way to look at it in a fun way.
Plan. But hear me out. We replace all the CEOs with AI.
If you were a CEO of a major auto company and...
Okay, spoilers, Jesus Christ. Okay. Kill the music here. Alright. I need an AI that gives me a better social media feed. I keep trying to get educational content on all my social media feeds, but I keep getting right-wing adjacent, random pop content. It's genuinely annoying. Like I'm actively trying to get educational content, yet it's still recommending me completely unrelated stuff. You're using like your standard algorithm from whatever, right? Like that's what you're talking about. Yeah. Because they're you have to work hard, right? Like it has taken me years to get my algorithm, and I still have to scroll past because it wants me to respond to the latest Sneego nonsense. And you could do that. Like, I would have to think about exactly how you would execute that kind of thing, but it sounds like what people were using, like similar to what people were using Auto GPT for a couple months ago. You would just have to like define. Well, you wouldn't do it with the why are you in an ad? What the I'm angry. There shouldn't be any ad. I'm angry. Like I have pre-roll ads set. No ads after pre-roll. Why are there ads on my channel? Because now, first of all, how long has that been going on? And second of all, Twitch got me out here lying to people because it's literally, oh, you refreshed. Okay. Well, I'll tone it back. I might be misinterpreting the situation. Tone it back. Bring it down. Bringing it down. Okay. So anyways, yeah. You going through the algorithm, that's going to be challenging at best. It will take you a long time, and you will always have to deal with the algorithm trying to provide you with content that's going to keep you, what it thinks is going to keep you engaged for the longest, and we know what that is. You would need to figure out like this ultimately is coming down to the discoverability bot that I need someone smarter than me to build. And then there's also the matter of like, well, no, because like on YouTube, you could get it to check the transcriptions. I don't think we're far away from it. I just don't know that anyone is motivated to create it. It's distinctly possible that it could be built now, but I'd have to ask ChatGPT. I'll make a note. I'll make a note right now, and I'll see what we can do. Yeah, no, I'm with you on the bot. Like, do the thing, do the thing, do the thing. Make a note. Make a note. Make a note. Okay, note made. All right. Yeah, like if I can find anything or I can see where we're at and like that, and I will report back to you. In the meantime, this is, I like this. Ready? This is intense man is intense.
Plan, but hear me out. We replace all the CEOs with AI.
If you were a CEO of a major auto company and your auto workers union was about to strike due to low wages, what would be your solution? Yep, checks out. Let's replace the CEOs with AI.
Okay, big meme, very funny, right? We're all laughing. From Gizmodo. AI this week, time to replace your CEO with AI. Ed Zitron talks to us about how to automate your boss. Some of the biggest names in tech met with Chuck Schumer. There's that Coca-Cola flavor. Yeah, we don't. Here we go. Automate your C-suite. All right. For people who haven't read, let me get the music back. For people who haven't read your op-ed, is this still a little louder? Or is it just me? Probably loud in my head. For people who haven't read your op-ed, they should obviously just do that, but I wanted to give you the opportunity to make your case. So just briefly, what argument are you making in this piece? And why should we replace corporate executives with ChatGPT? The argument I'm mostly making is... oh, is it? No, as I said, it might just be loud on my end. From the top, the argument I'm making is that the CEO has become an extremely vague role. It's become one with very little accountability, very little in the sense of a definitive sense of responsibilities. If you look at the basic literature, hey, let me know if you need more content for that. I'm more than happy to provide. I don't know if you were here at the beginning, but I replaced, because my intro song is missing, I replaced the intro song with the fully automated luxury gay space communism song, which will serve the role until I figure out the next thing I'm going to do. Okay. If you look at the basic literature around the CEO role, it's actually not that obvious what they do. There was a Harvard study from 2018 where they looked into what they were doing, and it was like people, meetings, strategy. That can mean anything, quite literally anything. Strategy, what does that mean? So CEOs appear to be just going into meetings and saying we should do this or we shouldn't do that. The problem is that if your only role in the organization is to take information and go, we should do this, and you're not a lawyer or a doctor or someone with a real actual skill set, what's the goddamn point? So who is Ed Zitron? Ed is a creative and innovative thinker, an excellent writer, and above all else, a witty and charismatic person to have around. He is the founder of Easy PR, a national media relations firm focused on consumer tech startups. Everybody on Twitter seems happy with the piece, whereas people on LinkedIn are split 50-50. Blah, blah, blah. What do you think the chance that companies will take you up on your suggestion? Oh, extremely low. Just to be abundantly clear, I don't think a single goddamn company does it. I like this guy. For, given what he is and everything else, he's at least... and then he offers an alternative in the piece, which is a working CEO, right? But let's just move past that, because this is from Insider. The modern CEO job is completely broken, but AI could make executives useful again. Also from Ed Zitron. So my man is out there. My man is trying to get it done. And what is happening? Why is this in Pigeon? Hold up. Something weird is afoot. Okay. I don't know what was going on there. I ended up in the Pigeon section of BBC, and I'm not sure. And I got to get rid of that Babel link. The humanoid robot CEO of of a drinks company says it doesn't have weekends and is always on 24/7. The CEO of a Polish drinks company, Dictator, that's alarming, is an AI-powered humanoid robot. The AI boss, named Mika, told Reuters it didn't have weekends and is always on 24/7. Mika helps spot potential clients and selects artists to design the rum producer's bottles. And apparently they did that August of last year. AI Boss is said to have a wide range of tasks, including helping spot potential clients. My decision-making process relies on extensive data analysis and aligning with the company's strategic objectives. It's devoid of personal bias, ensuring unbiased and strategic choices that prioritize the organization's best interest. You talk like a CEO for sure. Mika won't be firing any of its employees, though, as the major significant decisions at Dictator will be made by human executives. Its role includes leading the company's Art House Spirits project, a collection of NFTs, and communicating with its DAO community, according to the company's website. It's an interesting day for the AI CEO. That's all I'm saying. All right, we're burning through all this. So this is from India Today, and I don't know where they fall in the thing, but company called Cred, the CEO Kunal Shah warned that around 90% of people could lose their jobs in the next 10 years as AI continues advancing at a rapid pace. That's similar to the 82% number that David Shapiro put up. He said that we are not understanding the risks of AI. He added that upskilling is not an easy thing to do. We're not realizing the risks of AI. I can tell you with confidence that 90% of people who have jobs right now may not have their jobs relevant 10 years from now. Now, some people have also argued that by upskilling and learning how to master the use of AI, they can keep their jobs. But Shah kind of disagrees. He feels that it isn't possible for humans to upskill so quickly, and that it is going to be a real challenge unless someone is a very curious compounding person. The time to upskill is going to be a real challenge unless you are a very curious compound. Oh, this is excellent writing. I love it. First you quote the guy and then you quote him again. It's excellent. So yeah. This is my opinion. This is David Shapiro's opinion. I don't see on a long enough timeline we are going to automate everything. So get on board. How artificial intelligence can revolutionize science. Luminaries in the field, such as Demi Savis and Jan LeCun, believe that AI can turbocharge scientific progress and lead to a golden age of discovery. Could they be right? Such claims are worth examining and may provide a Ledawet? What is Ledawet? Did I pronounce something wrong? Did I do something wrong? I don't know what Ledawet is. And may provide a useful counterbalance to fears about large-scale unemployment and killer robots. Many previous technologies have, of course, falsely been hailed as panaceas. Oh, let's do it. Boomer. 17th century microscopes. Two areas in particular look promising. The first is literature-based discovery, LBD, which involves analyzing existing scientific literature using ChatGPT-style language analysis to look for new hypotheses, connections, or ideas that humans may have missed. Oh my God, it's almost like we have talked about that on this show before as being a great idea because the human being does not have the capacity to read all the words. And then, yeah, beyond the blind spots that people have. And, hey, look, this could stimulate interdisciplinary work. Second area is robot scientists, also known as self-driving labs. These are robotic systems that use AI to form new hypotheses based on analysis of existing data and literature, and then test those hypotheses by performing hundreds or thousands of experiments in fields including systems biology and material science. Unlike human scientists, robots are less attached to previous results, less driven by bias, and crucially, easy to replicate. They could scale up experimental research, develop unexpected theories, and explore avenues that human investigators might not have considered. Again, right? Little Twitch channel There's a small handful of people who are even aware that I exist, but this is what your boy's been talking about, and I'm glad that, which this is from The Economist, so it's nice to see that bigger names are getting on board. And which one was this?
I remember talking to a CFO of
Oh, yeah. Hold up. Pause the music again. Okay. So, a while back, we did do you know who this is? I don't know who this is. But we watched a video with Liv Bory and Kevin Schmachtenberger, I believe is his last name. He's got a long last name. And so she started a podcast called Win Win. Like, she is trying to go with that vibe. And though she and I have some disagreements because on a variety of different things, because she tends to favor capitalism and I do not, still, like, there are ideas to take from this, and this piece here I thought was huge. All right.
I remember talking to a CFO of a very significant company once, and significant I mean by size, and I said, what are your priorities? He said, innovation and efficiency. And I said, good luck with that. Innovation is inherently wasteful. Go ask 3M. Go ask some of the most innovative companies in the world.
They're diametrically opposed almost.
There is experimentation, which is inherently wasteful. And so when a company is obsessed with margin and cost and efficiency, you literally are engineering out innovation because you're not allowing a space for people to try and fail, or allow a space for people to say something that's completely badass stupid, and for somebody to go, wait, no, hold on, there's something in there. Everybody's going to take the safe road or ignore the big risks that they could try and take. I remember talking to a CFO of a very significant company.
So yeah. Fundamentally, that's the thing. With the idea that, capitalism breeds innovation, right? Like it doesn't, right? Like it inherently doesn't, for exactly this reason. The idea behind capitalism is increased efficiencies so that you can lower your costs and increase your profits. That goes directly in the face of innovation. That goes directly in the face of the act of creation. Anyone who engages in actual creation, right? Whether it's someone who's, experimenting and doing that kind of stuff, it's someone doing science, someone doing art, whatever you got, if they are engaged in the act of creation, it is a metric fuck ton of failure and occasional success, because that's how that works. So we need a new paradigm. I think he's changed his views over time as well. He used to be a bit more pro-corporate back in the day, but nowadays it seems he's taking the ship to more worker-focused ideas, as the U.S. in general seems to be waking up a bit more towards the fault of capitalism. Yeah, and this is my expectation of anyone who does any kind of critical analysis, especially of their own thinking. If you are not re-examining what the philosophy folks and certain blue checks and Elon Musk and so on and so forth like to call their priors, right? Your presuppositions. If you do not re-examine your presuppositions, then you will continually head in a particular direction because they are dictated by your presuppositions. If you go back to another phrase they like is first principles, you go all the way back to baseline, all the way back to zero, and reassemble it like Legos, right? While re-examining all the things you're putting together, you should, because of new information, come up with different outputs. That's just how that works. Right? Okay. I think we need to do a quick look at Twitter. Oh, y'all want to see what I made for dinner? I just found out about this. When it's one of those things where once you do it, put up social media, it'll be fast. It's called Pizza Parigina or Parisian pizza. And basically what you do is you lay out a pizza dough, you put some sauce on it, you put some cheese on it, and then over the top of that you do they did puff pastry. I used croissant, right? All store-bought shit. It is pizza, but then it has an added layer on top. Now, if you're going to get purist, then all I can say is, okay, all right. I'm not going to argue pizza. It's literally in the name. I don't know what to do with you. ChatGPT. Not asking ChatGPT whether Parisian pizza is pizza. I'm not going to embarrass myself in front of the AI. All right. You want to argue with ChatGPT over whether or not Parisian pizza is pizza. That's up to you. You go off, King. All right. And then we're in the bookmarks. Okay, so that was that. So one of the things, we'll hit this in a second. This is Connor. One of the things people talk about how ChatGPT, like the website usage has gone down. You know, it's started to decrease or whatever. Like, this is the top 50 products, according to this individual, that like are generative AI web products. So not only are there more products coming out, and people, I don't think I want to know, but like there are alternatives. ChatGPT is not like the one. ChatGPT is just a one, right? Like in the same way that Google is the big dog, but you got DuckDuckGo and you got, you can still use Yahoo and, other Bing, for crying out loud. So like, here's a whole bunch of products that are coming out. And so, yeah, people are definitely tailor making their experience and have other options based on their needs. So I'm not going to argue with anybody who says that the decrease in usage of ChatGPT is indicative of anything other than a decrease in usage of ChatGPT, and a small one at that. So Connor is he's concerned about AI safety, I think is the nicest way that I can say that. Really wants to shut down going forward a moratorium on frontier AI until we can address the unconscionable extinction level risks.
Connor Leahy is an expert on artificial intelligence and the CEO of Conjecture, an AI company that's focused on safety, and he joins me now from London. I really want to thank you for joining the program, and I will start by saying you're on record as saying that AI could prove an existential risk to humanity.
Thanks, Elon.
Artificial intelligence and the CEO of Conjecture, an AI company that's focused on safety, and he joins me now from London. I really want to thank you for joining the program, and I will start by saying you're on record as saying that AI could prove an existential risk to humanity.
Elon Musk. Elon has been touting, and his minions have been touting, how impressions mean something other than nothing, as opposed to actually viewing the content. And I would not be surprised to find out that the weird refreshing that is going on when you use Twitter is related to that because it somehow gives more impressions, right? Like, did we just give this a second impression by using it? I would not be surprised. I have no data, but my gut says.
So given that, is regulation needed? Are guardrails the answer? Or should we actually be asking for a moratorium altogether on further development?
So the way I kind of see things, I'm really happy to see that hearings about AI regulation are happening. I definitely think regulation is very important. I see moratorium as a potential kind of regulation. The problem I have, or I see a little bit with this kind of meaning, is that in a sense it's reversing the burden of proof. The regulator has to come up with the perfect regulation and establish it is correct before it is being applied. But really, this is quite the opposite of how we usually regulate high-risk technologies and high-risk industries. In high-risk industries, we usually regulate first and then open up later as we become more sure about the safety. Think about complex and risky technologies like financial derivatives, which caused the 2008 financial crisis. We had these instruments that were being created, which provided many, financial benefits, made a lot of people a lot of money, but they also created huge amounts of risks. And that eventually led to huge blowups. And if we think about it, the burden of proof to build an AI system that can automate all human labor and potentially cause the extinction of all of us should have a much higher burden of proof than releasing a new financial instrument. It is way more complex. It has far larger consequences. And I don't think anyone would currently argue that we should stop regulating the financial sector. So currently, there's so little, if any, regulation or moratorium of any kind. So currently, the mood is kind of more like we need to figure out what the exact right regulation is and exact right scope. But this mindset in, say, finance system would be terrible and would cause many financial crises. So we're talking about extinction here, not a mere recession. We need a much higher burden of proof.
Okay. That, I think I understand where he was going with all that, but it was terribly articulated and bro, I'm a brokey on Twitch. You can fix your audio. It's not that challenging and you're wealthy. I know you are.
The stakes are higher. I absolutely hear you, and so does everyone else. But if we're talking about how to help, again, I ask the question, is regulation possible? Or do you think the government should actually say, everyone, cease and desist right now until we figure out the implications here?
And for another person, right, I would definitely allow much more grace. Right? Because we all know, thanks, Elon. We all know the number of people who are not used to being on camera and then they get on camera and everything, kind of goes to shit because they're nervous and, they stumble over the words and stuff like that. He has done a lot. He has done online debates with people around AI and everything else. So he's had time to practice his whole thing. Let me see if I can skip to the proper point.
Kind of more like financial crisis, higher burden.
The stakes are higher. I absolutely hear you, and so does everyone else. But if we're talking about how to help, again, I ask the question, is regulation possible? Or do you think the government should actually say, everyone, cease and desist right now until we figure out the implications here?
I absolutely think it should be banned. I think we should absolutely say that frontier AI development, so the development of newer, more capable, more general system, there should be a full moratorium. This is the only logical thing. If we're in a world where the CEOs of the companies building these technologies, who have the most to gain by downplaying the risk of these technologies, themselves are on the record stating that there is a real chance of potential human extinction, or at the very
he was going to say non-zero.
Or at least full job automation from these systems.
What's wrong with full job automation, homie?
This is as if all top CEOs from all top banks were warning about massive economic blow-up risks. If that happened, we would ban first And then once we figured things out, we would slowly open up in a careful, deliberate way once we are sure that we understand the risks.
We would not do that. It's not what would happen. I think using the financial markets as a example was a terrible choice, right? Because the financial markets are rife with new products that are relatively unsupervised. Like he went to the 2008 crisis and the the derivatives, right? Like the whatchamacallits, right? Paradigm tells us all the time. I'm going to tell you too. If you haven't seen the movie The Big Short, watch The Big Short. It does a good job of framing it for you, and it's a good movie. It was literally because within the rules, everything that they did was fine, right? They played within the rules. Who went to jail over the financial crisis? Well, no one, right? Not a soul. Some companies went under, they were bought by other companies. Bernie Madoff was not related to the 2008 financial crisis, though. I'm saying specifically related to the 2008. Bernie Madoff screwed up because he took money from the rich. The 2008 financial crisis, only the poor's lost. Right? So, it was a poor choice, and the other thing is if you need to have a moratorium, and I'm not even necessarily against the idea as long as the time created by the moratorium was used productively. Thanks, Elon. It's just, if not everyone is on board, then what? Then this company or this country or this group or what have you is going... Oh, because every so often it refreshes the video, and so it's a joke. I'm thanking Elon for his great, wonderful site that continues to be stable and fully functional and totally awesome. Yeah. It's a great level of sarcasm. So yeah, you got to get everybody on board. I'm not against the idea, but you got to get everybody on board. Not everybody's on board, right? And then you have to have a body, a world body that would at least let's avoid police and let's use supervise, right? And then what does that body do if somebody goes ahead and does it? Then what? Do they have powers to enact some kind of sanction or what? And people use like nuclear weapons, right, as an example of how the world can come together and yada yada yada, which is a totally ahistorical viewing of how nuclear weapons proliferated around the world, right? And the motivations for smaller countries to get their own nuclear weapons to protect themselves from invasion by bigger countries. At least one of the reasons why North Korea has nuclear weapons is so no one invades them. So I'm not saying that they're wrong. What I'm saying is they need that interdisciplinary approach, right? You need to talk to people who work in the industry that you're going to use as your metaphor? You got nukes under your seats? I'm just saying it's not a good metaphor. Your boy doesn't like, I don't know, like opera. Am I missing something? You know, it's like your boy hates metaphors because they're usually wrong and they're usually like painfully twisted simply to prove a point and not like well thought out. And that's all I'm asking. Oprah. Oh, you get a nuke and you get a nuke and you get a nuke. Yeah, like the issue with nuclear weapons is like not the nuclear weapon. It's that it's really difficult to acquire and process uranium into, into a weaponable, status. See, it just refreshed again. All right, we're done with it, and we are on to AI video for the rest of the day. My man, my homie, my ace, Aesop Rock dropped a new song, so we're going to do 3 minutes and 44 seconds of Aesop Rock called Mindful Solutionism. I love it so much, and my man is talking about technology, and I love it so much.
$2.5.
Yeah, I mean, that's the basis of his name, yeah. Like, that's the whole vibe. All right, here we go.
2.5 million years ago, a friend of mine made a tool from a stone and defended his tribe's technology. Sorry for the technical term. It's a wheel, then a fire, and the rest is a blur. Throw a theorized plot in the pot with applied science, let it sit. I bet it streamlines your environs, yeah. What's a resource local to the grotto? The method isn't free until the mechanism follow that. Technology, innovate a difference, a feat of engineering, a system made efficient. There isn't a condition, complication, a revision where the answer ain't to build a more sophisticated widget. Idiot, tired of games, Bronze Age, Iron Age, weaponry in stellar form,
so good.
By the day, livestock and vegetables that rose behind the hideaway. Mesopotamia out the motherfucking lion cage. If it's out of the bag, then it's out of the bag. If it's out of the bag, then it's out of the bag. If it's out of the bag, then it's out of the bag. Now that is a powerful cat. Now that is a powerful cat. Now that is a powerful You take a lever and a pulley and a winch and a wedge. You get a labyrinth of aqueducts and pyramid steps. Before the Jesus Archimedes on that miracle tech. Year zero, you can build a future ribbon its head. Put a shoe on a horse, shoot a man with a gun. Steam powered bifocals and mechanical funk. Manipulate electricity, no it cannot be done. Yes it can, ain't a damn that could cancel the flood. True to human curiosity. At the tree of knowledge, pulling genies out of bottles. Stealing from Leonardo's. Plane, train, auto, hauling space age cargo. Bizarro technology, every day is tomorrow. Telegraph, telephone, you can blur a door. Simple Kitsy from a cozy geodesic dome in Sydney. You could write a letter with no paper. You could fix anything with a laser. If it's out of the bag, then it's out of the bag. If it's out of the bag, then it's out of the bag. If it's out of the bag, then it's out of the bag. Now that is a powerful cat. Now that is a powerful cat. Now that is a powerful cat. You could get a robot limb for your blown off limb. Later on, the same technology could automate your gig, as awesome as it is. Wait, it gets awful. You could split an atom willy-nilly. If it's energy that can be used for killing, then it will be. It's not about a better knife, it's chemistry and genocide and medicine for tempering the heck in a projector light. Landmines, Agent Orange, leaded gas, cigarettes, cameras in your favorite corners, plastic in the wilderness. We cannot be trusted with the stuff that we come up with. The machinery could eat us, we just really love our buttons. Technology, focus on the other shit. 3D printed body parts, dehydrated onion dip. You could buy a jet ski from a cell phone on a jumbo jet. TECHNOLOGY, it's the ultimate. unknown vectors. If it's out of the bag, then it's out of the bag. If it's out of the bag, then it's out of the bag. If it's out of the bag, then it's out of the bag. Now that is a powerful cat. Now that is a powerful cat. Now that is a powerful cat.
Integrated Tech Solutions coming soon from Aesop Rock. I can definitely, like, your boy is not going to twerk. I am neither capable or nor have the back to twerk. But yeah, no, absolutely love it. Looking forward to the rest of it. My favorite total album from Aesop Rock was the Spirit World one from a couple years ago, a year or two ago, and I thought it was perfect from beginning to end. It was great. I'm getting the vibe that this is going to be another one of those. Like, he's got some albums which have some good ones and like some, but again, your boy, huge Aesop Rock stan, as Reed will attest to, and like Aesop's worst song is better than a lot of people's entire catalog. So moving on. The end of the smartphone is near. I did not protch, which is pre-watch. New word. Start using it. I did not protch, so here we go.
This is the Motorola 888, one of the most popular cell phone models back in 1994. I actually had one of these myself back then. It only had like 50 minutes of talk time every month, so it was basically just for emergencies. Jump forward 10 years and Motorola introduced the Razr V3, a wildly different design right out of science fiction that flipped open like a Star Trek communicator, thinner than a pencil with hours of battery life and unlimited talk time. Also, you could text and play games with it. I had one of these too. Once upon a time, I kept all the cell phones that I had owned over the years and had them displayed next to each other so you could kind of see them getting smaller and smaller over time. That was pretty cool. I did actually lose them all in an apartment fire in the early 2000s, so I lost them.
Okay, he's a little quiet, so I'm moving my mic away so that I'll be around the same register as him. So you can adjust your volume accordingly without getting blown out.
Kind of sucks. But the point is, that's how much cell phones changed in those 10 years. How much have they changed in the last 10 years? In 2013, Apple launched the iPhone 5S, and here's the current model, the iPhone 14. They're basically the same phone. Yeah, I know they've gotten way more powerful, the cameras are better, there's more functionality now than you had back then, but design-wise, user interface-wise, it's fundamentally not that much different than it was back then. In fact, you can make the argument that you could go...
Okay, I might be jumping the gun here, but like, I mean, I'm sitting here on a PC, and if you could tell me the difference, like, according to, like, what he considers the difference between that iPhone and that other iPhone, like, the difference between Windows 11 and Windows 3.5, like, it feels this, or 3.11, sorry, not 3.5. 3.5 was the size of the kit. Yeah, it feels like the same ship, homie. But go off. You got 20 minutes.
Go all the way back to the first iPhone in 2007 to see the first major difference. I know all you Apple haters are now flaming the comments saying that that's because Apple sucks, and yes, you are that predictable. But the point is, we've kind of reached peak smartphone. I mean, where else can you even go with this device? So one of two things is true here. Option one, the phone has reached its final form. And from this point forward, the only improvements we're going to see are just incremental changes, you know, just to get us to keep buying new ones. Because if we don't, they'll go out of business. Or option two, something else is about to come along and take its place. Something just as disruptive as the smartphone, something that changes the way we interact with the world, something that we'll all have to go out and get just to not fall behind everybody else. Some of the wealthiest companies in human history are facing massive pressure to be the first to create this device.
I can't imagine why, lobster.
Yes, whatever it may be. So with that much at stake, and literal trillions of dollars to invest in it, I think there's an argument to be made that the smartphone's days are numbered. And there are a few trends happening in technology right now that might exacerbate that. So today, let's talk about that. What's going to come next? And how's it going to change our lives in the future?
Well, then refresh. Refresh. Everybody refresh. I'll count down 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. If I refresh, then it's just...
So let's start by stepping back. Way back. This is a codex. It's basically a book, but written by hand on something other than paper. Written or drawn. A lot of codices were illustrated. Codices is a fun word. Anyway, before the codex, the only way to carry around words was in your head. Not wrong,
but you're a nerd.
Or a scroll. Sure, sometimes you could etch them in stone, but only enough for 15 commandments.
These 15! Wait. 10 commandments!
The point is the codex was a disruptive device that changed the way we communicated information as a species. Perhaps the first disruptive information technology, followed by the printing press in the 1430s, but things really got disrupted with Alexander Graham Bell. Bell, of course, was one of the inventors of the telephone, as I mentioned in a recent video. Edison also worked on a telephone, but Graham got the patent, so he got the credit. The Bell box telephone went on sale in 1877, and for more than 100 years, the design stayed pretty much the same. I mean, microphone, speaker, wires, a dial, later buttons. What else do you need? Then came the cell phone. In 1973, Motorola unveiled the first portable cell phone. It weighed 2.4 pounds and had to charge 10 hours for 30 minutes of talk time. Guys, battery tech has come so far, it's insane. But the cell phone, at first anyway, was really more of an evolution than a revolution. It was the smartphone that really changed everything. I mean, think about the revolution that the smartphone was. It literally leapfrogged science fiction. I mean, the Star Trek communicator was just that, a communicator. It didn't play Angry Birds. You couldn't even text with the thing. Yeah, I did a video a while back where I talked about the AT&T You Will ad campaign from the 90s where they kind of tried to predict where technology...
So people like to talk about the Star Trek communicator and completely gloss over the pad, right? The pads that appear in every goddamn Star Trek, right? Which, ow! Sometimes she misses the back of the chair and never misses me. So, like, the cell phone is the merging of the pad and the communicator, right? Like, come on now.
Technology was going to go in the future. It's an interesting episode. If you haven't seen it, you should go check it out. But seriously, even the people who made the future happen had no idea the change that the smartphone would bring. And that was like 15 years ago. The first generation iPhone was revealed on January 9, 2007. It launched in US markets in June 2007 and a few other countries in November of that year. In 2007, over 122 million smartphones were sold. Sales numbers climbed through the debut of other iPhones and Android phones, and in 2014, 1.2 billion smartphones were sold, and sales have hovered around the 1.4 billion mark ever since. As of the recording of this video, nearly 7 out of 10 people on the planet owns a smartphone. It's become a fundamental part of our human experience at this point. But as I asked at the beginning of this video, where do we go from here? What more can we get out of this black square? If TV and movies are any guide, future phones will be transparent and have holographic displays. It's kind of amazing how ubiquitous that is as sort of a shorthand for future technology, the whole transparent screen thing. One of my favorite shows, Parks.
Yeah, there's always an issue with people forgetting the things that they forget, right? Very few of y'all, the younger ones, remember the VR and the robots and a bunch of this stuff that we had in the 80s, right? Other than if you watch the show and the episodes where I do exactly that, you know? Yeah, exactly. Like, I haven't done a particular comparison, but like my understanding is that this is way more powerful than the first PC that I ever had. So, it's something that comes up around AI is like where people, the AI is all the stuff that can't be done yet that they're working on. And then once it can be done, it becomes something else. It's a process, programming, it's software, it's whatever you want it to be other than giving credit to the thing where it came from. And I feel like a bunch of that. What up, Magic? So, yeah.
Parks and Rec in their final season in 2014, they kind of jumped ahead 3 years. And in their version of 2017, just 3 years later, everybody had transparent phones with holographic projections and stuff. Swing and a miss. And yet there's no real push for that in real life. Samsung filed a patent in 2020 for a partially transparent phone, but nothing's come of it. There have been a few transparent displays.
This is one of those things that I don't think people would want, right? You are on your phone doing private stuff, even if it's just you're texting with your friends, right? So having other people be able to see that, it just sounds like one of those things. It's not like a thing. Yeah. Like dual-sided, you know, where I can display one thing to other people and maybe, but like generally no.
But the challenges of creating a clear phone are immense. I mean, like all the battery and all the hardware would have to fit inside the bezel somehow. Not saying it'll never get there. I'm just saying that it's more of a sci-fi convention than an actual trend. One place we can experience improvements is in battery life. I know I just said the batteries have gotten way better over the years, but so have the power needs of these devices. So point is there's still room for improvement. Graphene batteries, we keep hearing about, that could add capacity while reducing weight. They're also less prone to bursting into flames than, say, lithium-ion batteries. I've talked about graphene and all kinds of other alternative batteries in other videos. Now, one area where phone companies have usually tried to differentiate themselves is with the cameras. Well, we've kind of gotten to the point where adding more resolution is pointless. I mean, once you're recording in 4K video, there's just diminishing returns after that. But there is still some room for improvement on the front cameras. Right now, we still have to deal with these notches in the front cameras because we haven't quite perfected the under-display camera, so that's a technology that's being worked on. But in lieu of being able to improve the cameras, we can improve image processing, specifically with AI. In fact,
and I think they could have done more had there not been this push for like the full screen. Like, remember Apple used to have a thing across the bottom and a thing across the top. You had space there you could work with. I kind of like the physical button aspect of it. Like the iPad Pro I got, which is old by technology standards, has that physical button on it. And I think that there was, you know, in the fetish for super slim devices, yeah. So, like, had it been okay to keep those, and for whatever reason it wasn't, you could have, like, I've got 3 cameras on the back of my phone. These 3 cameras theoretically would have fit in that bar, and I could have had 3 cameras across the top and have that whatever's going on back here, right here, right? Like, it seems logical to me, but we just got away from it. And it makes even less sense with how prevalent this kind of broadcasting is, right? TikTok and people who Twitch off their phone and YouTube Shorts and all those kind of things would benefit from that level of camera coming out of the front. But then people would have to admit that they made a mistake or something. I miss my StarTech. Flipped open, had an antenna that pulled out. It just made phone calls and texted people. But at the same time, I don't miss it at all.
In fact, the inclusion of AI is a big area where smartphones are expected to evolve. Like, you can expect in the near future for these large language models to kind of act as digital assistants on the phone that can work between apps to solve problems for you. Like, instead of ordering food from DoorDash or Uber Eats, you would just tell your phone, order me some lo mein from Pearl's Chinese restaurant, and it would just get on the app and do it.
Yeah, and I'm going to assume that part of it, for all of us, is nostalgia of a particular... Thank you. Is it... Because nostalgia attaches, like, different memories to a particular point in time. And we tend to, like, that was a time where I was happy and there wasn't all of this and like that. But yeah, no, like, and my StarTech, like, I still have, just so that you're aware of what you're dealing with, my phone does not go in my pocket. My phone does not go anywhere like that. I have a belt clip. My phone is on my hip in a belt clip. Because that's how I roll. Because I don't want to pay for another one. And that's the way my StarTech was. My StarTech had a friggin' holster that I would drop my phone into. It was awesome. And I worked for Singular Wireless doing activations at one point in time. And so, like, there was a peanut, like this phone that had the shape of a peanut. And there was that tiny little Nokia that was like the size of a cigarette lighter. That was neat. And like that. So there have been some very interesting phones that I appreciate for what they did. But yeah, you can't, if your phone can't connect to the internet, then you can't even really market that phone, except maybe to old folks who need the emergency phone.
Do it for you. Or just say, I need to order plane tickets to Boston, and it'll get on a travel app and give you options to choose from. But I think that's where smartphones are basically going at this point, just basically becoming digital assistants and distraction devices. But really beyond that, like, form factor wise.
And when people just default into the boomer, distraction devices, right? Like, don't get me wrong. Like, there's sometimes I have one game that I've been playing forever, and I will bust it out and I will play a little bit of it. But I'm engaging with news. I'm engaging with video. I'm collecting stuff up because of the cross functionality of Google Keep, where I can find stuff on my phone and then put it in my Keep so that I could share it with y'all. And I don't know how much distraction is actually occurring, I don't know how you could quantify that, right? Because sometimes that playing of that game for 10 to 15 minutes has nothing to do with distraction and everything to do with just taking a break. And if you go back and you look at a video game that has a manual in it, somewhere in that manual, it will tell you that every 45 minutes in front of a screen, you're supposed to take 15 minutes away from the screen. And we don't do that anywhere. So my stepdad had a flip phone when they got rid of 3G and the phone didn't work anymore. He said, F it, now has no mobile phone. I got a friend who's like that. Yeah, my iPhone 6. Hey, if it works, baby, and it works for you, then it's great.
Where do you go from here? Because, nobody thought that the smartphone was going to be, the end of progress, right? There's going to be something that takes its place. I think the question comes down to, how far down the rabbit hole do you want to go? Because there is a bit of a backlash
go all the way
to our smartphone addiction. Some say it would be great to have a device that provides all the advantages of a smartphone, but without the distraction part, so we can live in the moment and connect with people. Others believe the only way out is through, to go deeper into the immersion. This is, say, what Apple's trying to do with the Vision Pro and Meta with the Quest and the Metaverse. I've talked about the metaverse before, no need to rehash all of that, but there is a push for more immersion, which, and this might sound kind of counterintuitive, but it also kind of aims to make the technology invisible. Like, what if instead of, looking down at your screen all the time as you're walking around, that the world was your screen? This is the potential for smart glasses and headsets. So I know I'm kind of late to the game to talk about the Apple Vision Pro. There's not a whole lot here that I can say that you haven't already heard, so let's just call this my take on it. So obviously I don't have a Vision Pro, but I've had the Quest 2 for a couple of years now. It was kind of a pandemic purchase. And I don't know, I go through phases with it. Sometimes I use it a lot. Sometimes it just kind of sits in the drawer for months at a time. But it's safe to say I haven't found a use for it that really has integrated it into my life, and become a part of my everyday routine, say the way my phone or the computer's become. It's mostly recreational for me. But one aspect of it that I always thought was really cool was the pass-through mode. Now on the Quest, it's low resolution and it's black and white, but it gets the perspective right. And you can see, especially when the Guardian barrier is up, how seamlessly the digital content interacts with the real world. Like, that really opened up for me what the potential for AR and mixed reality headsets are. That, if you could digitally put computer displays or artwork or TV screens anywhere you wanted in your...
It's not nearly the same. I have Nreal Air glasses and they work fine, but you still don't want to wear them when you're walking unless you absolutely have to. Yeah, like, I have been looking at screen glasses for 30 years, right? And the price is always $600 to $700, and it's always like not quite, like it, and definitely not $600 or $700 purchase. You know what I mean? Like, it's not quite there yet. And like with, I don't want to speak for where, they're trying to get to with their various VR products. Do you actually want the VR helmet, or are you trying to get that Google Glass experience without whatever made Google Glass fail? I don't know. I think once the functionality of the headsets get better, I'll probably integrate more VR. Like, yeah, no, and I'm cool. Well, at one point in time, I would have been cool with just a screen, but yeah, I really wanted to. Like, I've begun doing more incorporation between my phone and my watch, so I can keep my phone on my hip more and control it from the watch for like Spotify and and things like that. But I don't know, like, I can't YouTube without it, and like maybe having a little screen that existed somewhere within my field of vision so I could incorporate the visuals along with the sound has potential. But it would have to be done well, and it would need that seamless integration. It needs to just work in order to, if not me, like, I'm sometimes willing to put in the effort, but to get it out to mass market, right? Like the issue that I talked about last week with the UI around a lot of the AI open source products is just the UI is questionable or non-existent across a bunch of these products that otherwise I think more people would use.
In your home or in your office, like, that opens up a lot of possibilities. Might even call it a game changer. So when the Vision Pro was announced,
and like I have a couple of years ago, my father-in-law got my son the PSVR, and he used it for a while, but it is a novelty, and it does give you eye strain, it does give you motion sickness, like there's things like that. A friend of mine's got the VR2. I haven't used it. Okay, then I might dig it out. I've got it. Like, once he went and like abandoned PlayStation in favor of PC. It does. Like there's something about that screen being that close to your eyes that it just makes it difficult for your eyes to do the thing. There's a distance that probably should exist. Which is why I think the augmented reality where the screen is like set back somewhat, but then you're missing out on some of the advantages of VR being able to look 360 degrees.
So like for me anyway, it was like somebody took a list of the things that I wish the Quest could do and made it a reality. The high definition, lifelike pass-through mode that you could turn on and off with a dial, the fact that it automatically
Beyond tech toys, like I have a mini wood turner, a mini lathe that is still in the box that I got for business reasons years ago, and it's still in the box. I've done nothing with it because my life is filled with other things that I have to do. Anyways,
became transparent when people walk into your field of view. The fact that you don't need clunky controllers in your hands, this stuff just blew my mind. And I gotta be honest, I really want to see this whole eye tracking technology thing that people keep raving about.
One of the things I complained about was like the front facing cameras and the front facing screen and some of that, and how I felt that it would use up a battery that could be used for the other things. A friend of mine who's more into Apple products than I am says that the additional battery usage of those things is minimal. And so, like, my concerns are, relatively speaking, unwarranted. So that's what I do. If I get new information, I share the new information.
Calling it, close to magic. It just looks sick. So Apple calls this spatial computing instead of AR or mixed reality because, Apple gonna Apple. But I think it's actually a fairly accurate term to use because they're talking about taking the computer experience off of a screen and making it three-dimensional in the world, which again, in a way, is kind of like having a transparent phone if you think about it. And of course, here come the comments about the price tag and me being an Apple fanboy because yes, you are that predictable. But the price tag is steep. I mean, it's $3,500. That's a good chunk of change, especially when you compare it with the Quest or the Quest Pro at $500. But the quality of the image and the mixed reality functions are just so far beyond the Quest and what lower price models can do. Like, it really puts it more on par with higher end mixed reality headsets like the Varjo VR3, which starts at the exact same price. The Vision Pro is like buying a computer and a display in one, but the display can be as big or small as you want it to be. Now, I want to say, I don't think the Vision Pro is going to be a game changer.
What up, Olopus? Producing light uses the most power, i.e. the screen. I'm just relaying what he said and like that. Like, that kind of thing is that screen uses less power that it's not a concern because of everything else. I think functionally that big head strap and everything else, that is what's going to kill. Like, you need this. If it's not this weight, if it's not this kind of like where it just fits in and you can forget about it, that is going to relegate VR headsets to only home use and therefore limit their functionality. You want the everywhere device. You need it to be like, you got to work on that form function. You know what I mean?
Price too high for most people. It's really more of a developer product for professionals to get their hands on and see what they can come up with for it. Which, I mean, one could make the argument that's what the original iPhone was. I mean, I remember people laughing out loud at the price and saying there's no way anybody would ever be willing to spend that much money on it. That, and it didn't have a fraction of the functionality that it would have even 5 years later after the developer started creating more interesting and useful apps for it. I see the Vision Pro as just a good first step, like something that will be refined in the coming years, something that will get people used to this idea of spatial computing so that when something more functional, more price non-prohibitive comes along, it's an interface that we all understand at that point. And I do think that's where this is going. Like, a lot of hay has been made about the fact that it has that front screen that shows your eyes, which, yeah, it's weird, maybe even a little dystopian, but I think that's just kind of meant as a band-aid of sorts until the technology gets sorted out for transparent smart glasses and whatnot. Here we are with that transparent screen thing again. Now, you might not like the idea of smart glasses, but if you want to talk about what could be the next smartphone, what will be the next sea change in how we interface with technology, I think that's a good bet. Like, instead of being tethered to a screen that you hold in your hand, the screen will be right in front of you, as big as you want, as transparent as you want, with helpful information displayed as you navigate the world, probably with some kind of helpful AI assistant anticipating your needs. Like, instead of having to carry something around, you just put the glasses on and go about your day, The technology would be integrated into your daily life and ideally become invisible. Now, that's one direction that things could go in. There is another direction, though, with the same goal of making the technology invisible. It's from a company called Humane Inc., which was founded by two former Apple execs, Imran Chaudhry and Bethany Bongiorno. Imran and Bethany are a husband and wife duo who left Apple in 2017, a move they didn't make lightly. Chaudhry worked as a designer for Apple for 22 years. He often worked side by side with Steve Jobs. He's actually listed as a co-inventor of their patent for the touchscreen. Bongiorno was a director of software engineering at Apple. She managed a number of notable projects, including the first iPad, and in case that's not impressive enough, before that, she was an astrophysicist. Clearly, these guys know a thing or two about building smart devices. They're also good at keeping secrets. They've been operating in stealth mode for nearly 5 years. Everybody knew they were up to something big, but nobody knew what. There were some hints along the way, like a 2020 patent application for a body-worn device with a laser projector. And there was a leaked investor document from 2021 that mentioned an always-on camera and LiDAR sensors. And back in April of this year, they finally revealed what they've been working on in a TED Talk.
And we agree. Sorry.
Oh, this thing.
This is my wife. I'm gonna have to get this. Hello?
Since that reveal, they've given it a name, the AI Pen. Although I have a feeling they think people are going to drop the A and just call it the iPen, but whatever. Their goal with the AI Pen, and the mission statement for Humane in general, is to make the technology invisible and get rid of screens altogether. In his talk, Chaudhry called the screens a further barrier between you and the world, and he claims that Humane wants their technology to fade into the background of your life. The way it works is it's a wearable device that sits on the top of your shirt, either with a pen or a magnet. And when you're not actively using it, it kind of monitors your surroundings and helps you navigate or provide information when needed. You interact with it with your voice and with gestures, and when it does need to display information, as you saw from that clip where he made the phone call, you just hold out your hand and it projects it on your hand with lasers. The idea is it's a little AI assistant that you can use to interact with like it's a person. It listens and anticipates your needs, so if you're hungry, it might suggest nearby options. Like, I noticed a moment in the TED Talk before he makes that phone call where he says the word wife and a little light goes on his little AI pen. So was that the AI listening and knowing that it was time to make a call to his wife, or was that somebody off screen, triggering it remotely? It certainly seemed like something intelligent was paying attention and acting appropriately, which is the idea. Chaudhry talked about the tech being ambient and contextual. And
I mean, it's like a lot of technology that we have kind of has faded into the background. You're not wrong. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I can go dystopian with anything. It's just easy that way. It's happened a bunch of times. Most recently in Black Mirror, there was an episode, early one. It was like the 5 million, something like 5 million social credits or whatever. You know what I mean? And the TV was on all the walls. And if you covered up your eyes during the commercial, then it got annoyed with you and it did that. So you can go dystopia with anything, right? And then there's a lot of good in the world. So.
And that's what he showed, a piece of tech that waits quietly, taking in the world around it until it can be helpful. Like, at one point in the demo, he used a double finger tap to use the pen to translate his words into French.
Les appareils invisibles devraient sembler si naturels à utiliser.
On stage demos are nearly always theater performances. There are so many stories about iPhone reveals having a different phone for each app and weird shit because it's not nearly done yet. Yeah, like, this is a sales pitch. You should look at it as a sales pitch, right? Like, this is not even my final form kind of thing, you know? Like, we are somewhere along a path that could lead to this, or it could lead to, you know, something completely different. This is intended to show kind of where they're at, get people excited as consumers. They have the opportunity to purchase something, and then to get more investment into your company so that you can continue to refine your product.
And the translation was in his voice using generative AI, which is super cool for all the travelers out there. Like, granted, we've had Google.
I mean, that is a possibility, you know, like, one of my issues, like what turned me off from the Kindle line was that there was a ad feature that existed, and you had to pay like $15 to turn it off. And I was like, okay, buddy, I'm out. You could do that with this. You get one of these. I can make phone calls right from my watch, Lenny. You can have it. You can have it now. You can't have this one, but you can go to your local store.
We'll translate on our phones for a while, but this just takes it a step further. Again, without the need for a screen. It can also serve as a personal assistant, managing your email and your calendar.
Catch me up.
Patrick is coming to tomorrow's design meeting. Bethany wants to move next week's dinner, and Oliver is asking about soccer this weekend.
And see, that I think is cool. Now, to give you an idea, like, these are my headphones. I wear this one a lot. I wear this one almost never, because I want one ear available to hear everything around me, and the other one is my sound. So the idea of, like, being able to communicate with my AI assistant and say something like catch me up or what's on the schedule or anything else like that, I see that as something cool that I would enjoy having. There are some other things, like I said in a previous episode, is if I'm listening to an audiobook, then I want to be able to highlight portions of the text and then, like, have those portions of the text saved to file, right? So, like, the way about it that I went with was, like, if you get the audiobook, you also get the Kindle version or whatever, because I was using Audible. So I got Audible, and it opens up the text version inside my glasses, and, you know, like, and there'll be a cursor, and then, you know, cursor back to beginning of sentence or something like that, some command like that, highlight paragraph, highlight next 3 sentences, highlight something like that, and then save to whatever. And it does all that without me having to touch my phone, you know, and, like, line up the things and, like, lining up the thing to highlight and then press copy and then do all that stuff. I think you do. Make citation. Like, exactly. Like, that kind of thing. I don't see any reason why we can't have something close to that right now, with the exception of not having the glasses to do the thing. Buy the ad-supported Kindle, then use the online jailbreak too. You get one shot with me usually, homie, and like, I haven't switched to Apple products because of every time I go to use an Apple product, I get some kind of frustration if I'm doing anything other than opening an app and just using the app. If I have to get in any way technical, like my iPad Pro, my son was using, my son got it assigned to his account, which was under my wife's account, and I can't update, and I switched it back to my account, and I can't update any of the apps because I need her password to do. Dude, like, I understand that there's a security thing there or whatever, but, like, you're killing me. Like, I am irritated The only thing I use it for is to read comic books. The bouncing ball on top of the words.
According to them, it's fully customizable with the gestures and prompts, so you can teach it what you want it to do with machine learning. And because it learns from you, the more you use it, the more efficient it'll get. Where it does get a little yikesy is the fact that its camera is basically...
And like, oh my God, I got a PlayStation, right? And they gave away free Apple TV Plus. I'm like, let me do that. It took me, I had to go into my computer and open it up and do a whole thing and sign up there. I couldn't just sign up through the PlayStation. And it was, bro.
Always on. The idea being that, like, you know, if you were watching your child take its first step, you wouldn't have to, like, whip out a phone and experience it through the screen. You can just be present and enjoy it. And then after it is over, you can just tell the device to save what just happened. Which I get that. I mean, that's cool. I get the reason behind it. But you definitely get into some privacy concerns there. Though, I mean, we've all got cameras in our pockets all the time now. There's security cameras everywhere you go. But it's something else when somebody's just pointing a camera at you. Like the next time you're out somewhere, just pull up your phone and do this to the table next to you. Yeah, people don't like that. And the coffee shop will not let you back in there again. Which, by the way, that was one of the hangups people had with the Snap glasses and the Ray-Ban smart glasses. Just the fact that there's this big camera just staring at people when they're trying to talk to you. So, I mean, I do worry a little bit that if smart glasses or, you know, always on digital assistants like the AI pen, if that really does become a thing, it might kind of change how people act, which might sound like a good thing if you think generally that people are bastards. The idea that they might, you know, act a little bit nicer and
there's an internet meme about how people online behave like they've never been punched in the face, and just a tangential thought.
More civil if they know that they're being recorded. But I don't know, like, I make video content for a living, and I can tell you people just act differently when there's a camera on them. And yeah, I'm a little worried that over time, if these things become ubiquitous, that people just kind of adopt a layer of falseness in our interactions with each other.
That is one way that I'm just saying, like, I'm not one to punch people in the face, right? Like, I'm not. But I'm also, like, if I'm here, my words will be relatively the same, because here's the thing. I think before I speak, generally speaking, especially if I'm going to say anything that another person might take offense at. I tend to think about that kind of thing, and so I don't talk like that, online or in person, right? It's just a thought. Will people be more polite when everyone has a camera on their face? Maybe most will, but some will be bigger asses. Like, I mean, there are a bunch of people running around with their cameras right now, like, harassing people and posting it on the internet as pranks. So I feel that as well, you know. So yeah, like, can we say it's nuanced? It's nuanced.
That we'll never really be sure who we're talking to. Like, is this the authentic person or just a persona?
That. For the camera? Like, though I am careful, I guess, about, you know, some factors, I guess, that I don't want broadcast over Twitch. Generally, this is me. If you were to come over at my house, sit around outside on the deck, and, like, you know, we were smoking a joint, this is what you get. I don't put on a persona. I don't put on an avatar to be on Twitch. Right? I guess maybe, like, I'm a little more ebullient, right? I'm a little more, because I'm the only one speaking, you know what I mean? And if we were in person, we'd be having more of a back and forth. But yeah, like this is me. Like, if you met me in real space, this is what I'm like. What up, Big Lou? How many Karen videos will go ahead and put me online? What's a fake space? As opposed to real space? I mean, like, I guess it's whatever you can touch. Meat space, right? As opposed to the digital world, which has layers to it. And that's the thing, is like, I don't think, like this person's talking about that if we had cameras, people would create personas. Are you saying that people don't create personas now? How many of you work a job? And how many, you don't have to answer. I just want you to think about it. How many of you have yeah, exactly. Like you have your work persona, especially if you work customer service, you definitely have a work persona, right? You put it on when you walk in the door and when you answer the phone. Thank you for calling Juno. This is Chris speaking. How can I help you? Right? Like there's a whole thing, right? Because you cannot tell this person on the phone what you would like to tell them. You have to engage in social norms within a particular context. So what he's concerned about is, I think, a day-to-day existence for a lot of people, if not everybody, at least in the United States. There are plenty of people who are what you see is what you get. Like, I try to be me all the time and let other people decide whether or not they want to be around me. You know, I have tact, and I'm not an ass, and I take other people into consideration. But this is me, and it's up to you whether or not you want to hang out with me. I'm cool. I think that many people do, especially, like, contextually, right? Like, I'm not going to swear, even as much, like, I don't swear that much on Twitch, because I use it for punctuation, but if I go to the doctor's office, I'm not going to swear at all, right? Like, because I'm in a professional setting, so...
Camera. Which, I mean, to push back against Humane just a little bit, if their stated goal is to remove screens so we can connect with each other more fully, this could be a hindrance to that. Anyway, the TED Talks link down below. Feel free to go check.
Or maybe we can get more comfortable with being more like ourselves in beat space. I see. I guess it's just my own overt autism, but because I gender, like, other than the swearing, yeah, like, I'm with you on that. I don't know what kind of neurodivergence I have, but I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm going to give you the information, and because if I give you the information and I tell you the facts and the truth and the thing, and I give it to you, then you can make a rational decision based on that information. If I'm lying to you, now you're going to make your decisions based on false information, and that just doesn't sound like what we should be doing, generally speaking.
Check it out in full. Humane's AI pen is expected to come out later this year. The company has not even hinted at the cost, but if you want one, you can go to hue.ma.ne to get on the waiting list. Who.ma.ne? Yeah, we're going to have to work on that.
Yeah, that's when I saw it, when it popped up, it was like, oh, no.
It is interesting, and I'll be watching to see where it goes. But I think the big question comes down to, have we reached peak distraction? Because the entire premise of this company and their device is that we're all clamoring to get off our phones and re-engage with each other, which, I mean, I think there's an argument to be made that would be better for society, and maybe we have reached a point where things have gotten so out of whack that there's a movement or a trend away from technology and screens to log off and touch grass, as they say. But I think there's also a solid argument that people like distraction kind of a lot. Okay, so
and again, I don't know that distraction is correct, and there's this false dichotomy that's happening. I integrate the technology into my experience. Like Old Lobster can tell you, my Blue Sky posts, at least half of them are, pictures of the stuff that's in my yard, like flowers, or like when when a cicada landed on me and I took a picture of that. And that's just sharing an experience beyond, this me, right? Like, I'm here, cicada here, that's it. If I can get the documentation of it, the picture, then I can share it with other people, and they can have some sort of vicarious experience, or, oh, that's neat, or, whatever you feel about that. But it's not like a distraction, right? And I don't like the dichotomy of these two things, right? Like, I see my device as an enhancement. There's also a thing where often if I have to sit and talk to people for a long period of time, I get bored, right? Or whatever, like maybe bored is the wrong word, but I get something. And I don't want to be rude. I don't hate people. I just find many of them awkward to be around. I'm not gonna lie. Not for me, I'm cool, but people are weird and they are not cool, and this is sometimes a thing. And then sometimes I get bored, right? I'm not bored with what you're telling me, but the way it's being told and things like that. So if I take my phone and I play my little game, I can have 75% paying attention while I'm doing the thing, and I'm listening, and I will respond, and we will have a conversation, but I'm not I don't know. Maybe you understand what I'm talking about, maybe you don't. I feel like there's always been a movement to not be distracted. I'm not sure that effort is really new per se. And then there's those that use technology to enhance their lives and even be less distracted, so to speak. It's all relative to the individual's goals, wants. From one person playing Flappy Bird could be them being productive. For another, it could be a distraction. Yeah, and there are games that I play that engage a different portion of my mind. So if I want to think about something, if I want to do some problem solving, then I will play something like Stellaris, which is a lot of moving numbers around and waiting, right? Or Factorio, right? Where I'm just constructing something, or City Skylines, right? Where I'm just constructing something. And it engages one portion of my mind that is doing construction and logistics and that nonsense. And then the creative portion of my mind is engaged with this problem solving or thinking about stuff. Or I will have an audio book going on at the same time, and I'm thinking about, what they're saying in the book and how that relates to other ideas. So I don't know, this idea that people are playing on their phones and being distracted, I don't know how prevalent that actually is, and if that's just a particular mindset.
This is a segment that I like to call Joe Contradicts the Entire Point of His Video. I mean, let's face it, there's nothing stopping any of us from setting these things down and walking away from it right now, but we don't, do we? Our phones are more integrated into our lives than ever before. And maybe a clip-on AI assistant could, take on a lot of the major uses of the phone and free us from our dependence on them. But I mean, come on, let's Let's be honest with ourselves. Most of the time that we spend on our phone is just mindlessly scrolling some feed or playing some meaningless game. It's a dopamine delivery device. Which is why if I had to make a choice between these two options, I'd probably bet on...
Okay, so I'm not like reading body language, but when he's like talking about addiction and he's rubbing his arm like this, bro.
on smart goggles.
I feel that you're speaking from a very personal space here about how you engage with the technology. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm in the minority on that aspect of it. Maybe this is, in fact, the way that a lot of people engage with the
peril here are huge.
Thank you for the follow. Maybe there's a lot of people who engage in that other way, and that the majority of it is distracting and it's mindlessly. I know that a lot of the way that we rage engage is not good for us in general, and those could be associated things, right? But like how dismissive this idea of just it's a distraction kind of feels to me. It feels like maybe overselling it, or maybe I'm overselling it. I don't know.
Or glasses, because those would still allow you to engage in that sweet distraction whenever you want. Or maybe we all have, AI assistants on us that we use to kind of navigate our world and whatnot, but we also have a screen of some sort, a phone or a tablet or a computer that you can consume content or do work with. Or maybe my entire thesis is flawed. Maybe we landed on the perfect design. A pocket-sized device that you can use to communicate with anybody in the world and contains all the knowledge in the world. Maybe that's sci-fi enough. All right, thanks a lot for watching. Please do like and share this video.
Respect, right? Maybe my entire thesis is flawed, and this is the thing. Respect. I'll give you that, right? You presented your arguments, and you're willing to be wrong. Respect. So yeah, you get the thumbs up. As Paradigm says, the battle rap thumbs up. All right. So Old Lobster put this in. It's Dave Shapiro, and it also has to do with the Senate meeting, and I think it came out afterwards, so maybe we'll get some analysis. Let's do a short video first. We'll do this one first. This is a Cento Guard. So that's like, yeah, I feel all your feelings, right? It definitely could be some Black Mirror shit. Like, I was also vibing with the robot, with the music, and how it just seemed to want to go like like with you. Like this is, I see this also as like a robot buddy, right? Like I could view it in that lens of like, you know, you're going on a hike and you got the robot buddy to go with you, and it can, you know, go upstairs and up mountains and do all that kind of crap as well. Like I saw both sides of it in that context. And I mean, maybe we have, but like, would you want the radio controlled version, and whatever the costs associated with it, versus just sending somebody making $10 an hour to go look? You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. Like I could see that calculus. Not that I agree with that calculus, but like I could see it. It could be the friend I never had. It could, like, I mean, look at them wheels. It could go biking with you, right? Its wheel, the match are mastering long distance pursuit to better wear us down as it chases us out. That one Black Mirror episode with the robot dogs. Yes. The time knife. We've all seen it. Okay. So with that little, is that a palate cleanser? Little robot buddy palate cleanser? Here we go.
Before we get started, I need to address the elephant in
he upgraded the uniform.
The room. So, after several months of wearing my Star Trek uniform t-shirt, I got quite a few comments. Some people were rather triggered by this. They said that it was cringe and unprofessional, and ultimately I have to agree that the pips were not in the right place, and it was just a t-shirt, and so in response, I have upgraded to a handmade, costume-grade, Sovereign class uniform. I hope that this...
I had such bigger hopes, baby, and you... Like, I'm not going to dog on somebody's fit. Your boy doesn't care. I'm 50 years old. I don't care. I dress in what I want. I'm wearing a Magneto was right t-shirt. There's rips in my jeans because I like them like that. I wear a ball cap whenever, right? I've got this massive beard going on. Your boy does not care about fashion. Yeah.
This resolves all the complaints about my last cringe outfit. Now, moving on to today's topic.
It just looks like the jacket rides a little bit up around the collar because it's blocking the pips and like that. So, like, respect. But, like, now, see, this is the thing, right? The objects you own end up owning you. You choose your level of involvement. Now that you committed to the bit to this level, now I feel you kind of have to have it a little more tailored, right? To where it fits. If you're going to go there, then you got to go there, right? That's why I don't go there. This is me, baby, all day long.
The United States Senate recently had a closed-door session with more than 20 CEOs and researchers and other stakeholders about artificial intelligence. So the full list of this this closed-door Senate session includes all kinds of people, and I picked out a few people that I was particularly interested in having seen them. Now, Dr. Ruman Chowdhury is someone that I follow on LinkedIn, and she advocates for, amongst many other things,
It only recently really sunk in that people use LinkedIn as some kind of social media platform. I just saw your comment, old lobster. Like, no, I respect, but like when you go, you gotta go, right? Or not. I don't care. I really don't care. We're gonna watch 2 different Dave Shapiro episodes today. Or David. He might not like being referred to as Dave, and I respect. So yeah. I don't know. I was saying something, I forgot. Oh, LinkedIn. Like, people follow each other on LinkedIn. I guess it makes sense. There is a certain train of thought that social media should be more, I guess, like, specific rather than like Facebook and Twitter are like the all-in-one app, that like LinkedIn being a business and business relations app would be better in some circumstance. But there's definitely like a lack of investment in that kind of thing.
Red teaming, particularly by third-party agencies. So she's very articulate, very intelligent, and I appreciate the way that she approaches AI safety. Another one is Tristan Harris, who is the CEO of the Center for Humane Technology, so he focuses on alignment with humanity. One of the ones that was most interesting was Alex Karp. So Alex Karp is the CEO of Palantir. And if you're not familiar with Palantir, they are basically for law enforcement and intelligence agencies. They're a like big data gathering agency, and they focus on graph theory, actually. And so most of what they do is scrape public and some private data sources to correlate times, events, transactions, and all kinds of other things. They have quite a few products and projects out there. But the fact that someone who is involved with law enforcement, counterterrorism, and military intelligence was involved in this was really interesting. And so back when I first heard about Palantir, I listened to a few interviews with Alex Karp, and he has very, very specific and very clear beliefs about the way that the world works. And in particular, he explicitly refuses to sell his services to totalitarian regimes like China, North Korea, and Russia.
Okay.
Because he says that their goals and their ambitions are intrinsically destructive and run directly counter to the Western way of life, the American way of life, and the European way of life. So very principled person, and I know not everyone's going to agree with him, and I certainly don't.
Like, maybe a difference between hard and soft totalitarianism, but like, I feel like people draw lines in that. Like, this is the thing. You got to do analysis. You got to. And
don't agree with him on every point, but this is a highly principled person who has a global perspective, and that's actually why he created his company. Another one was Deborah Raji, who focuses on...
Right, but his company creates tools that can be used in a soft totalitarian way, and to speak to what Alothus said earlier about the idea of I believe it was you, or maybe it was Social Deviant, but you were talking about like the disappearing of technology as its own dystopia, and it's like, that's the thing, is like, if I see a camera on a street corner versus a Predator drone, or whatever drone, you know what I mean? If the camera's in the drone and I can't see it, is that a different thing? You know what I mean? And like, yeah, but you feel where I'm going with this. Is like,
on algorithmic bias and accountability. Janet Murguia, hope I'm saying her name right. Civil rights activist. Interestingly, there's a few creatives. So Charles Rivkin and Meredith Steim were representing the film industry and the writing industry. So probably they were invited.
Okay. No. The MPAA is not creative. First of all, I hate the word creatives, right? I feel very about the word creatives in the same way that our man feels about the word content, right? Like, I don't like it. But also the MPAA does not represent the creatives. Like, literally there's a strike going on right now between the creatives and the money. So
in order to represent the interest of people that are affected by generative AI art. We had Elizabeth Schuler for labor rights. We had teachers represented, and then finally a second person representing human and civil rights. So I know that there's...
That's good. I don't want to distract too much. Like, there is some good going on here. And oh my God, did right-wing media lose their mind because a representative of the teachers union was in there. Like, holy shit. Like, according to them, it was a whole bunch of tech people and a member of the teachers union. Like, some random teacher union representative, local shop steward just showed up at the meeting. It's embarrassing.
There's been a lot of people that criticize this meeting for being too many CEOs, but some of those CEOs are CEOs of nonprofits and research and advocacy organizations. So look past the headlines and recognize that there are a lot of heavy hitters here. Okay. So here's one image of the event, so you get a little bit of context. You can see the format. I think that's Elon Musk right there, and then there's Alex Karp. I think there's Sundar Pichai of Google, and a few others. So I think there's Chuck Schumer there. There's Dr. Ruman Chaudhary. So you can see that it's like this, almost like this kind of crescent table, and I guess these are the observers. I'm not sure. Maybe other senators that were watching. Anyways, so definitely a lot of pomp and circumstance, but there's also kind of this sense of equality or egalitarian people being side by side. I believe this is the CEO of Microsoft. Sorry, the resolution of this picture is a little bit too low. Okay, so super high level overview. This was a 6-hour session. I was kind of surprised by that. So they probably had a break for lunch, but that's a long time to be sitting and talking. It was hosted by Senator Chuck Schumer, which, if you're not familiar with what he's done with AI recently, he just a couple months ago proposed the Safe Innovation Framework, which is a 4-point safety AI safety innovation framework, which tries to balance safety and innovation. I did read it, at least the initial kind of press release, as well as some of the initial literature that came out about it, and it seemed okay, but it's not very specific. But again, that's why they're having these meetings. Now, this was a closed-door meeting in order to reduce press visibility and also to facilitate candid conversations. And I'll get into that in just a moment, because this part, the fact that it was closed door, caused a lot of heartburn. And even, I will admit that even when I first heard about that, I was like, wow, really? Like they're going closed door sessions already with all these industry insiders. But I wanted to wait and see what information came out and then give my honest appraisal after having some time to reflect on it and seeing kind of what trickled out of this meeting. So one thing that I want to point out is that the Senate, the United States Senate, has already had many public hearings around everything from AI and copyright, AI safety, regulation, and all sorts of stuff. And so it is time for them to move on to having closed-door meetings in order to have those more candid conversations. So basically...
Okay, Old Lobster, one more thing about the uniform, right? My man's got good shoulders, right? And the t-shirt was tight enough that it showed off his arms, and this one does less of that. So
basically the idea is you reduce the risk profile for CEOs speaking candidly, because what you'll see what happens when they speak publicly is that they have to have highly sanitized corporate speak in order to say, basically give canned responses to things. However, if you have a little bit more privacy, that gives them permission to say things that may not sit well with the public. And of course, I can hear some people saying,
I took a class on leather working, right? And in the first or second episode, when he was talking about the design of your leather outfit, he was talking about how he designed his own, created his own leather, it was like fantasy, like elven style thing, and he was walking around and it was great and everything else. And then when they sat down for dinner, it like his shoulders went up to here, right? Like, and you have to factor that in your costume design. And yes, you're 100% correct.
Well, if they're going to say stuff that doesn't sit well with the public, maybe it should be public. Maybe these people with all this money and privilege and power and influence should not have these closed-door privileges. However, there is a reason for this format. And I'm not going to say that this is the correct format. I'm just saying the reasons, there are reasons for this format. And basically, it comes down to the neoliberal approach to government and economics versus the communist totalitarian Soviet version, which the key difference...
Bro, I'm a child of the Cold War, and like, just do some research, right? I'm not saying it was good. I'm just saying it was like not as bad as your multiple things can be true.
The difference here is central management versus free market capitalism and third-party experts. So basically the two underpinning principles of neoliberalism here are free market advocacy and minimal state intervention. And so one of the downstream effects of this is that rather than having only the government making decisions, the government is supposed to consult with outside experts. This is something that America does very differently from the way that the Soviet communists used to do things. And this is, of course, still the way that China does things today, where the government makes all decisions more or less unilaterally.
Like, if I could explain how, like, the arcs of progress, China has access, and again, your boy is not a state stand. I think all states are bastards, includes the United States, China, and whatever your favorite one is, right? But within that context, China is poised to build some of the largest research facilities across a variety of different domains. And they've got their own, Ernie, their LLM chatbot, ChatGPT style thing. Is it as good as what the United States has? Probably not. But is it competitive? I would say yes. So, like, you're overplaying the whole China thing is what I'm trying to get to. Like, there are, and I don't believe that the Chinese government doesn't listen to experts, right? I just don't. Just because the government makes the final decision and provides the funding that it sees fit, as far as I understand, because every so often a Chinese billionaire goes to jail for something, that means there must be Chinese billionaires. Ergo, somebody's making money and doing business and getting paid. So, like, I think you need to spend some more time with some geopolitics before you make sweeping statements like that. That's all I'm saying.
By consulting with industry experts who have different agendas and different stakes and things,
By the same token, within the United States, this framework, like the idea, like government should speak with experts, and experts in the United States are going to be in companies. That is how that is. That's the current state of play. Whatever you feel about that, the current state of play is that the experts work for companies. And if you were going to get expert opinions, it is going to be from companies, because the public sector does not pay enough for these people to do those things, and the teaching sector doesn't pay enough. So this is the way it is. I'm surprised they didn't use China as an excuse for closed doors. I mean, I'm sure Hawley did.
The idea is that you'll have better decision-making processes over time, that you'll get information from different stakeholders with different agendas and different motivations, and that everything will kind of get pulled towards some semblance of the truth, or maybe not truth, maybe that's the wrong word, but things will get kind of pulled towards the center.
No, they will get pulled towards the interests of capital. Right? Now, if you're good with capital, then that would be the center, such as it is. Right? But only if you're good with capital. If you're not good with capital, then it will not be pulled towards the center. It will be pulled towards capital.
Okay, so the whole thing, the comment that kicked off all of this research on my part was Dr. Chowdhury's comment on LinkedIn. As I mentioned, I follow her on LinkedIn. I am one step away from connecting with her, but I follow her and plenty of other policy advocates around the world, not just in America. But so I'll skip the first part, but the meat of this was, in seriousness, I was impressed with the quality and candor of conversation. The panelists and senators were engaged in direct and real conversation about the realistic harms of AI and what government can do. I advocated for increased funding and access for independent researchers and investment in a full ecosystem of governance, not just industry and government, but independent third parties. We talked about...
I feel that pain because he doesn't follow me back on Twitter, so, karma?
Open source education, access, sustainable innovation, guardrails, benchmarks, and more. It's a positive step forward. So I literally just copied this directly from her LinkedIn. This is not me editorializing. This is one-for-one copy from her LinkedIn. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to find her saying anything else. So this is probably a statement that her PR team helped her craft in order to just say, like, hey, this was a positive thing moving forward. I don't know that she said anything else publicly about it, but fortunately, plenty of other people have commented, and I have injected some of that information from that. So here's another angle. So we have Chuck Schumer, there we have Dr. Chowdhury here, and a few other people that I don't recognize. That's definitely the CEO of Microsoft. There's CEO of Google. So they separated some people out so that they weren't necessarily side by side, although there was one pairing that makes me a little nervous, which we'll get to at the end. Okay, so after sifting through all of the bits of information that are trickling out from various sources, I found that there's basically only 3 points of agreement that really came out of this event. So first, there was unanimous agreement that the government needs to participate.
Correction, I heard almost unanimous, right? Which implies that someone did not raise their hand. That was what I got, was that it was almost unanimous, not unanimous. And maybe I'm incorrect, maybe what I got was incorrect, but that's what I got.
In regulation and development of AI. Basically, my understanding is what happened is near the beginning of the thing, Senator Chuck Schumer just asked, by a show of hands, who agrees that the government should intervene? And so everyone raised their hands. And there's a reason that I wanted to include this, as well as the earlier slide about neoliberalism, which one of the principles of.
And that was what it was. It was Chuck Schumer who said it was near unanimous, right? We watched that on Friday. So we're like, if he's quoting that as the source, then David.
Neoliberalism is government non-intervention. And so that leads to the unsubstantiated quotation earlier, which is that the government seems like they're ready to rip up the existing playbook and move towards a different paradigm of direct government oversight, regulation, and development of AI, which is a very powerful pivot away from the minimalist approach of neoliberalism, which basically creates a Wild West environment of corporatism. So hopefully, what this is signaling is actually a fundamental paradigm shift in the way that the government is going to approach things. And basically, what I'm hoping is that the government will start to advocate more zealously on the interests of people, not just consumers, but all citizens, all civilians.
And that's why, like, I understand David's got problematic views from, if you're a lefty in the audience, from that. Like, I watched number go down, so either people left because they didn't like what David had to say, or y'all went into podcast mode. Either one is fine. I'm not saying you need to come back here and get my numbers up. That's not why I do this. You know that. But like, he's there, right? Like, he is close. Do you, boo? I'm not. I literally said it's not a big deal. But he is in the vicinity, right, of similar feelings across a variety of stuff. And this is, we need more conversation. We need more. I said I'm banning you. I can't. Yeah, I can't ban someone with in my Chatterino. You literally have 6 little tags next to your name. It will be awkward. Like, we need to talk to people more. And I'm not saying we need to talk to everybody, right? There are people, there are many people that we don't need to talk to, right? Or about, for that matter. But, like, there are a lot of people that we need to talk to. And not, and like, I know it's fun to dunk on people and like that, but that not only creates these barriers to that cohesion that I was talking about at the beginning of the episode, right? To create more cohesion within a group, and especially in the left, we are more diverse. Ergo, we need more cohesion to overcome the conflicts that can result from that because of different, desires and things like that. We need to work together. And we need to be, like, welcoming. We need to spend a little more time. Yeah. We need to spend a little more time, like, I understand, and I'm not telling any individual person that they have to do anything, right? You don't have to spend your time educating people. All I'm saying is it is helpful. This is my platform. I spend my time bringing education to people. And it is like, we've had people in chat who have very rigid views from the left about how things are going to go. And they are, in my opinion, they don't track with history. They track with the legend, but they don't track with history. Like, one of the things was that we talked about last week was the idea that if technology then only rich have. And the original cell phone was $13,000, and this one is $777 nominal dollars. Right? Because over time, what is once only the providence of the wealthy, which is also at the time when it's at its least good, and then in the future, it becomes more available. And now everyone, or not everyone, but a great deal of people have this. Oh yeah, no, and this was my thing. Like, I wasn't gonna make an argument in any way, shape, or form for central planning because of its inherent flaws to respond quickly to changing conditions, right? But upon learning about things like cyber socialism, right? Like what the CyberSyn project down in Chile back in 1973, and the idea of algocracy and the central planning of such leftist organizations like Walmart and Amazon, that the algorithm allows you to compensate for those issues because the algorithm can act faster than humans can, and is able to take into account more data points than humans can. And because of that, we can have more central planning-esque, because that is now the better option in comparison to what is, at least in its current iteration. I'm not going to debate the history of capitalism and blah, 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 but in its current iteration, capitalism is demonstrably a hindrance to innovation and taking care of people. That's it. Back to the video.
This is me reading the tea leaves. I don't know if that's actually how it's going to play out, and we'll unpack this in a little bit more depth in the coming slides. Another thing that was agreed on was that
I was fine with I understand
international coordination is required. So remember, this is layer 6 of the Gato framework that I proposed, which is that we need international bodies, not necessarily regulators or researchers.
If you want international coordination, you probably have to talk a little bit less shit about China. Just saying.
They just said international coordination. They likened it to nuclear regulators like the IAEA. There was general consensus about international regulation. There was not as much consensus about creating an international research body like CERN. And personally, what I would really like to see is all the foundation, maybe not all, but many of the foundation and frontier models being trained by public funding, by tax dollars and international efforts, and then being accessible to everyone, all companies, all people. Maybe open source, maybe not open source. I'm still undecided. I have very lean.
It, and this is like tangent again. But Kaiputer really taught me a valuable lesson about defining your community, right? And in this community, you do have to have a thick skin, right? Like, you are going to be associating with people of different, political thoughts. And part of the entire thing is to self-analyze those thoughts and see how they engage with this kind of thing. And, like, we're all headed in a particular direction and all that kind of thing. Like, and so when number go down, I'm never concerned, because those who want to be here, those who want to participate, and those who want to learn will remain. regardless of what numbers say. And the number lies, by the way, because I can go to Twitch and I can go to whatever that Twitch tracking site is that tells you stuff, and the numbers don't match up. So somebody's lying off jump. But anyways, the point is that y'all are here because you want to be, and y'all show up there. Yeah, I see the names. I know who's here every week, every day. So those are the people I want to be here.
Heavily towards open source, because it's like Python is open source. Like eventually, here's the way I see it. Eventually, we're going to look at AI as just like any other programming language or operating system or computer program. It's just another tool in the toolbox. So I am very much in favor of open sourcing for all AI, because that's going to make it more transparent, more explainable, and over the long run, more secure. But more importantly, on principle, open source AI is going to enable for more democratic access, which actually Mark Zuckerberg advocates for pretty vociferously. And he seems like he's alone in this in terms of advocating for just like 100% open source. And then finally, the third point that everyone seemed to agree on was public funding and development of expertise around AI. So basically, there seems to be general agreement that they need to increase government investment, not just in terms of university grants and other things like that, but in terms of workforce development. Now, there was a lot of disagreement. So one of the most...
I mean, hold up, right? Hold up. You want government investment in education and workforce development. Y'all got all the money. Give some of the money. This is going to be wild, ready? Give some of that money to the government to invest in those things. Like this, this is like these fundamental, or like, I mean, they got to take it from somewhere else, allegedly. And like, yes, they could take it from the military budget, but that's Elon, that's his cash cow. I am. Like, I'm wild, right? I see two things that are right next to each other, and it's like, those are not the same picture.
In terms of workforce development. Now, there was a lot of disagreement. So one of the most contentious points of disagreement was the role of open source. So as I just mentioned, Mark Zuckerberg seems like he was more or less alone out there and just saying that like open source will democratize access. I fully agree. But then, of course, Meta and Mark Zuckerberg don't have the best access when it comes to civil rights and being responsible users of artificial intelligence. So what's their angle? We'll unpack that in just a moment. Tristan Harris from the Center for Humane Technology, he basically said Meta unilaterally decided what was safe and that was not cool because he and his team found that Llama could be used to produce harm. But then again, like you can use Python to do harm, but no one's requiring Python to be licensed or check with regulators every time. Bill Gates also pushed back against Mark Zuckerberg, saying that there's a really big difference between just searching for information that is passively available online and interacting with an AI system. What I'm reading into this is based on Bill Gates' comments when he was first shown GPT-4. He released a statement through his online platform talking about how he perceives software agents, AI agents, as being transformative to the workforce. So I think that Bill Gates is thinking in terms of autonomous AI moving forward. And so,
just say it. AI is going to automate away all the jobs. We need to change our economic paradigm to match the fact that a bunch of people are going to be unemployed. People are using a lot of words to dance around very simple concepts.
Obviously, if some people are starting to arm up with either commercial or weaponized autonomous AI, that's a really big concern because just searching for information on the internet is a far cry from being able to build something that is fully autonomous and agentic. Again, I'm reading into that a little bit. That is my personal editorializing, so I want to be very clear.
And if you're concerned about foreign governments, bad actors, rogue nations, and whatever sussy-ass crime bunny words you want to throw out there, what are the material conditions that lead them to behave in a particular way, and how can you resolve those fundamental underlying conditions rather than address the symptoms of you just don't like the way that they're acting now? Right? Iran did not pop out one day and decide to go off. Iran literally has a history far older than the United States. Its engagement with Russia and Britain, as well as the United States, as well as all the local powers, as well as the post-World War I division of the Middle East and the colonial, like, it ain't Iran did bad thing. We hate them now, right? Like, there is a history, bro. And if you're not engaged with it, then you can't even begin to unpick those threads and work backwards. And if you want that military budget to go down, then you need to engage with that.
That I don't have any evidence that Bill Gates is thinking about weaponized AI, but just based on his track record of what he has said, because he was one of the first people that Sam Altman and OpenAI showed demonstrated the capabilities of GPT-4 to. So he is in a privileged position to better understand what these tools are capable of and what the risks are. Also, he's a prolific reader. He reads like 1 to 2 books a day. So he's a pretty sharp dude. And I know that, like, as one of the world's richest people, he is under a lot of scrutiny and a lot of people don't like him. That's fine. It is really suspicious that he's buying a lot of farmland and a lot of forests. But you know what? If I were a billionaire, I'd probably be buying real estate too. So I can't really blame him for that.
And I'm not going to defend it, but like off jump, one of the issues with how the Amazon is being deforested is exactly that, right? Like the people who own it are deforesting it. It could be. I'm not saying it is, right? Like, but if I needed some kind of more altruistic kind of thing, it could be to prevent other people from logging that forest. Right? Because even if he goes about shit the wrong way, I believe that Bill Gates is trying to do good things as he understands them. Right? He's an asshole, but I don't think he in and of himself like wants to be a supervillain. He doesn't want to be evil. Right? Elon Musk wants to be evil. And billionaires, you know, I understand. Billionaires, crime, fundamental, well, totally with you. His mind, he likes you. Yeah, like, that's, but he suffers from the, you know, that no one will tell you no kind of aspect of whatever he believes is the best way to resolve an issue. He might not be able to be shaken away from that, and having power with that, like, maybe unassigned confidence, those two things are a dangerous proposition. And you can see it in all the billionaires, right? Like, they think that their way is best, and then they have the agency and resources in order to execute whatever their plan is. As opposed to, like, they could do so much better, and Americans would be a hell of a lot more quiet if they just shaved off a couple of them billions and kicked it back into the coffers. It is silly.
And then finally, Sam Altman seemed to, interestingly, kind of soften his tone from previous meetings, because he said some things are okay to be open source, but there are probably some things that you don't want to be fully public. Why I say he softened his tone is because at the previous Senate hearings, my interpretation was that he was pretty vociferously advocating that, like, pretty much anything that is above a certain threshold of power should be licensed. And one, I don't agree with that because again, you fight fire with fire, right? If you want only the most wealthy companies to have frontier models and that they can be closed sourced and licensed, what about the regulators? What about the cybersecurity firms? What about the people who cannot afford those and have to just trust that a closed source tech company is providing them the best tools? No, I don't agree with that because I'm looking at this from a cybersecurity perspective where you better well have all the best cybersecurity firms have access to the most powerful frontier models and can tear them apart, which they would be able to do with open source models in order to find those vulnerabilities. Now, that being said, I think that probably a compromise is what Dr. Chowdhury and others have advocated for, which is giving privileged access to researchers. But again, that's keeping it all behind closed doors, which I'm not necessarily in favor of. Like, if we want a free market, we should have a free market. If we believe in free market capitalism, we need to have a free market, including the intellectual aspect. And another thing that I like to point out to people is that all of these frontier models are almost entirely based on open source papers that are provided.
That's not what free market means. Free market and open source are not that. Homie.
By universities and funded by public dollars. That's not to say that they don't produce some of their own internal research, in particular Meta. They have a very robust research wing. NVIDIA also has a very robust research wing. But even still, many of the innovations are publicly funded innovations. Okay, so that's my spiel there. Another point of...
Publicly funded innovations. Not free market. Like... in a free market system, there would be no publicly funded innovations. There would be zero. Like, homie.
Disagreement was they really can't agree on whether they're just going to appropriate existing regulatory bodies or create a brand new one. I believe that Elon Musk was one of the ones who was advocating for creating entirely new regulatory bodies. And the analogy that he used repeatedly was talking about automobile safety. When car safety became a big thing, there was not an existing body, and now we have several regulatory bodies specifically for transportation safety in America. It was the NTSB, National Transportation Safety Board, as well as a few other safety regulators that look at the automotive manufacturing industry, road laws, that sort of things. And then finally, there was also no agreement on the impact that AI is going to have on the workforce. Do you just train up? Do you skill up? Are there going to be job losses or not? The tech execs, interestingly, seemed to close ranks and say, we're not really worried. This is going to be great for productivity. We're going to turn the economy up to 11. But everyone else was not so sure about that narrative, which I'm really glad. And having watched a lot of interviews with various stakeholders, not necessarily some of the people at this meeting, but other stakeholders and influencers like Andrew Ng and others. There is general consensus amongst many people, including many entrepreneurs, that AI is just going to basically trash all conventional understanding of jobs and economics as we know it, and I call this post-labor economics. Okay, so...
Yeah, like... They're doing everyone a disservice if they're making it sound like there is not going to be some kind of drastic change. Like, functionally, you can see it.
So that's kind of what has fallen out of this. So let's unpack this a little bit further. The biggest thing that I and other people are worried about is regulatory capture. So regulatory capture is when a regulatory body ends up being so heavily influenced by the industry that it is regulating that it becomes completely ineffective and totally corrupt. And so this image comes from the infamous Big Tobacco Senate hearings back in, I think, 1994, where with a straight face, these CEOs said that tobacco is not addictive. And it's just like, okay, that lost all credibility.
It's not regulatory capture. Regulatory capture is where you craft... he's killing me today. He is absolutely killing me today. Like, he's usually, for those of you who haven't been here, David is usually better than this, and he's having a bad one. Regulatory capture is where either through the influence directly of the corporations or through, people that they lobby, you set regulatory requirements that prevent people from moving up. Basically, if OpenAI and Meta and whoever else created a regulatory environment where people could not innovate their way up into that status, that is regulatory capture. I've seen memes that people don't know what regulatory capture is. It's not that complicated. Right? Like, it's really simple. I mean, he's got to hear regulatory bodies compromised by industry. Yes. Compromised ability to serve general welfare. Yes. Regulations favoring industry over public. Kind of, like, that is included, but it has to do with the people not being able to move up. Regulatory failure, breakdown in intended oversight function, yes. Industry control, the capturing entity often having disproportionate. Like, this is, I don't have a problem with most of this. It's just nuance on this piece here, but, like, it's not what the tobacco industry did. The tobacco industry just wasn't regulated.
And so, probably, even though this is almost 30 years old now, I remember this, even though I was a little kid, because of how angry people were. They're like, this is absolute nonsense. And my mom was a smoker at the time, and she even said, this is nonsense.
Yeah.
She's like, this is absolute baloney. This is total BS. So there's a few other aspects of regulatory capture, such as closed-door meetings. Closed-door meetings are actually one of the ways that industries that are being regulated can end up getting undue influence. And so this is why those public hearings were much more popular. But one thing that a lot of people didn't realize is that a lot of the senators, before those public hearings, had private dinners with many of the stakeholders and
yes, right. But at the same time, when you watch the TikTok hearing, none of it had anything to do with actually, like, determining factual evidence and like, it was to score sound bites, right? So, like, I'm not saying that public is better, but everything that they do in the public thing is performative. Right? You got Marjorie Taylor Greene out there with her signs showing revenge porn of Hunter Biden with little circles. Like, what the hell is that? What does that have to do with the business of governing? Right? You've got some dude, I don't know if it was a senator or House of Representatives, some old dude reading young adult gay porn into the record. Like, what the hell is going on? This has nothing to do with what we're trying to accomplish. So, yes, public, but that requires the people doing the work to do the work, not performance. That's a separate issue, but yeah, like, what up, Octavia? Yeah, like,
other people beforehand. So the backdoor meetings are always happening. And again, it's like, damned if you do, damned if you don't. So I don't really know what the best way is. Honestly, I would prefer if everything was public. But the thing is the American public, as all proletariat and unwashed masses, many people tend to react very poorly to the halls of power saying anything. So I understand the need for closed door meetings and expert conferences. But again, in an ideal world, and we don't live in an ideal world, everything would be public and, everyone would get along and digest the information like mature adults, but not everyone is a mature adult. So unfortunately, I understand the need for closed door meetings. And
some of the people directing that behavior that you're talking about are in those halls of power. Like, it's a systemic issue. This is what a systemic issue looks like. It goes all the way to, you could say it goes all the way to the top, right? You could say it goes all the way to the top. Whatever the top is, it probably goes all the way to it. Like, people are behaving poorly, and America just wants our side to dunk on the other side, whatever that looks like. And this image, this is an image. This is definitely an image.
Finally, the devil is in the details. I'm not going to read all this to you, but the
devil is in the details, and you literally have this Mammon Mark Zuckerberg picture, like,
summary of another source basically said, overall, the meeting showed agreement on the need to regulate AI given its transformative potential, but details remain to be worked out through industry and expert input. So basically, there's no agreement on licensing. I tried to find if there was any specific talk about licensing. And again, there seemed to be no consensus amongst any particular group about licensing. But one thing that the senators were most concerned about was, watermarking AI or licensing AI that can be used for election interference. So again, tech exec CEOs, big tech CEOs, they have one set of concerns. People that are advocating for teachers and civil rights and human rights, they have another set of concerns. The senators themselves, they want to get reelected. They don't want to get blamed if, any more lunatics take over the asylum, so to speak. So this is kind of one of the key takeaways, is that they have not yet worked out details, but at least we have surfaced through these conversations the differences, the agreements and disagreements about what details remain to be hashed out. And so I believe this is my last slide. What I want to point out is that even within the tech industry, there are different business models which can underpin some of the different behaviors that we see from these people. And this actually came from some very helpful comments in my YouTube section as I posted various news articles and stuff. So thanks everyone for
and Matt, I follow him on YouTube. I participate in some of his polls that he runs on YouTube, and have commented on some of those polls. My man does get all sorts.
Participating, I read pretty much all comments, and I react. I try and respond to the good ones and the most thoughtful ones. But so what I want to point out is that Microsoft is fundamentally a business software company and a cloud company. Yeah, they have Xbox and a few other services, but they're business software. AI is just a tool that they offer, and Azure provides both open source and closed source AI models. Microsoft is hedging their bets. They're not going all in on open source or closed source. They're like, you know what? If you want to use a model, we'll provide it to you through Azure. Great, have fun, go nuts. NVIDIA, likewise, they're a hardware and they're working on...
where is AWS in this?
Some cloud platforms. But again, they don't care about the underlying models. Closed source, open source, whatever, it's running on their GPUs. That's all they care about. Meta, so this was one of the key insights that came from my audience. Meta, they are fundamentally a social media company, and of course they're working on VR. They're not trying to sell AI directly. They just want AI to enable their products to be better in order to, have basically realize the Ready Player One Oasis universe, which... want to point out that Ready Player One was a cautionary tale about what not to do. So maybe Mark Zuckerberg misread the room when that movie came out. But anyways, whatever. I do agree, even if he's got potentially dubious motives, I do agree with him advocating for just fully open source AI. I'm glad that someone is in the room advocating for that, and that it's coming out in this dialogue. Now, OpenAI if you've watched my channel for a long time, you know that I have a love-hate relationship with OpenAI, because on the one hand, they've done some really cool things, and where they started was very much in line with my personal values. Where they have gone, they've seemed to have drifted, and as Elon Musk pointed out,
they didn't drift. It was literally because Elon Musk removed his funding and they decided to go ahead without Elon Musk, and they needed additional investment. So watch your fucking tone, dude.
And OpenAI,
not that that may have come across as harsh and like super in favor of OpenAI. It's just super against the inaccuracy of this repeated statement that didn't happen. Like, don't quote Elon about what happened with OpenAI.
I started, it was both open source and nonprofit, and neither of those things are true anymore. So it's definitely misnamed. They're a one-trick pony, though. They literally have one product, GPT-3 and now GPT-4. Everything that they do is predicated on the success of a single model. And so, of course, they're the most vocal about licensing. This is why Ilya Sutskever and Jan Leike and Sam Altman are constantly talking about licensing. Why? Because they're trying to pull up the ladder behind themselves. They want to protect on and wall off their ability to make money. Now, I know that Sam Altman is constantly talking about, like, he's like, oh, well, I have no financial incentive to do this. Yes, he's got plenty of money already, but he's got plenty of social incentive to do this. Sam Altman is at the most powerful he's ever been, and all humans, particularly in that space, want more power. There's a book called The Status Game that a friend of mine and a good mentor recommended that I read. I haven't fully read it yet, but basically The Status Game says that one of the primary motivations of humans, once everything else is taken care of, is to achieve more status. Whether that's scientific standing, social standing, commercial standing, or whatever, people want more fame, more power. And so whenever Sam Altman says that he has no personal stake in this, I don't really believe it. Now, that being said, he does say some things that I agree with. He does some things I disagree with. He's a complicated person like everyone else. Look at me making YouTube videos wearing a Star Trek outfit. We're all flawed, wonderful creatures. IBM, likewise, is a ancient software, business software and hardware company. They actually, I don't know if you know this, but IBM actually started with mechanical time clocks. That was one of their first products, and it was literally over 100 years ago. They have obviously evolved since then. They are now doing artificial intelligence with Watson X, and they're also doing quantum computing. So they are pivoting to next-gen stuff. Again, AI, it's part of what they research, but it's only a component of their broader portfolio of products and services. Google, again, Google and Microsoft and OpenAI, they're all kind of in slightly different places. Google is still the preeminent search engine pretty much on the entire planet. They're somewhat vulnerable, but particularly if you watched AI Explained, it looks like Gemini is coming down the pipeline, and it looks like Gemini is going to blow the roof off of everything. Hopefully, it remains to be seen. But considering that Google literally started everything with embeddings and vectors and transformers, I have a sneaking suspicion that Google, once they set their mind to dominating AI, they're going to get really good at it really fast. So I'm personally not worried about Google. And even the CEO of Google has...
Yeah, and they have the TPUs. They have designed architecture specifically to be better than GPUs for running the AIs on, like, or at least some portion of it.
Has hinted at the fact that he's not worried about OpenAI's capabilities. Also, Google has way more engineers than OpenAI. And they hire some smart people. I've talked to some people at Google. Many of them are some of the most friendly and people that I've ever met, but also, damn, are they smart. Holy mackerel, the people at Google are really smart. Same with NVIDIA. NVIDIA hires the best algorithm people on the planet. So they set their mind to something, they'll figure it out. SpaceX, Tesla, and X all under Elon Musk. Again, Elon Musk is afraid of AI, but that's not his primary business model. He's focusing on space and rockets and cars and social media since he bought Twitter.
Elon is afraid of the economic paradigm shifting outside of his control.
Twitter, which is a hot flaming mess right now.
Like when your dad owns a emerald mine of dubious employment status, then you have an ingrained fear of the working class rising up against you. Just say it.
But AI is just...
That's editorializing.
It's a component of all of these things. He's more concerned about, long-termism and the future of humanity. I don't necessarily agree with that philosophy, but at least it's a philosophy, and it's a morally consistent philosophy. And then finally, Palantir, they're fundamentally a law enforcement and intelligence agency. And again, AI is just a tool for them. So the point here is pay attention to the intrinsic motivations of all of these companies and the threats and opportunities that AI regulation presents to them in order to know how to read the tea leaves when talking about regulatory capture. So again, I am vehemently opposed to requiring licensing. I am fully on board with open source because here's the thing. Nobody's trying to regulate Linux, right? But Linux is a powerful operating system with a comprehensive ecosystem of software that can be used for hacking and can be used for biohacking and can be used for all sorts of illegitimate means, but nobody cares. Why? Because it is out there in a comprehensive cybersecurity ecosystem, and a cybersecurity ecosystem is how you get safety, not government regulation. I'm sorry. Okay. This is the cringeworthy picture that I mentioned at the beginning. This is what really kind of gives me bad vibes, because this is Alex Karp of the intelligence company Palantir and Elon Musk. And again, I don't necessarily have anything personal against either of these guys. Like I said, they're complicated humans. They have very strong moral convictions and future-oriented goals about the world. But it's why would you put them side by side? I don't know, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Now, again, it doesn't matter because I'm sure they have each other's phone number and they can talk on the phone all the time. But I don't know. There's just something about this picture that sets me on edge, and I'm not.
How do you have that? You can feel it in your bones that this is that this is bad, that this is not good, and yet say all the things that you said up until this moment.
I don't know. Talk to me in the comments. How do you feel about this picture and this whole meeting? I'm sure I'll get plenty of comments anyways.
Yeah. Kind of mid there, Dave. David. Call him David. All right. Another one from Old Lobster. What Adam Savage thinks about AI. And we're going to do this. We're going to do one short one from David Shapiro because I'm fascinated because of the thumbnail. And that'll probably be it for today.
Osmond Grov says, what do you think about AI and utilizing it in your work/art? Well, it's out there, and it's interesting. My partner is totally obsessed with AI. She talks to Pi every day and asks all sorts of questions and is really curious about the space, as am I. It's a fascinating moment. Are we witnessing an evolution of human creativity or a different kind, or are we about to witness Skynet and we're all lunch for the robots or grease for their wheels? I actually don't have an answer to that. I am both excited and a little spooked. I have not done much with ChatGPT. I did ask it to write something in my voice, and it grabbed a couple of my verbal cadences, I gotta be honest with you here, which I don't say, but I see why they thought I might say something like that. I'm here to tell you, they definitely grabbed that one. And then here's the best part. Yeah, it did a bunch of, that was fun. That was fun to try. Right now, I don't have a place in my process. I see a burning need for it. I do, yeah. That's not to say never. And like I said, I am very curious about the space. Absolutely. Especially Midjourney and the visual stuff. That's fascinating. I have this theory that what makes all human endeavors interesting is a point of view. And I define making as any time that you reach out into the world and use your point of view to make something from nothing. So to me, everything about being a person redounds to your unique point of view. And when you share that unique point of view, that's culture. That's us talking about what the shape of the world is and helping each other figure it out. And we do that verbally. We do that through writing. We do that through interview. We do that through reality television, fictional television, books, magazines, everything. All of that is our conversation about how to survive and about how the universe works. And so I watched the Secret Invasion opener, which is made with AI, and I thought to myself, yeah, some of these ideas are visually compelling, and I'm not sure I feel a point of view in there. So my theory is I actually have a hard time imagining.
And there's no universe. I don't exist I exist in the same universe in which he knew that the intro was created with AI. I just wonder about another universe in which he did not have that knowledge going in, and whether or not he would have the same opinion, right? Like, this is a question, and there's no way to know because we're not in that universe.
So let me give the most stark example of a point of view. Any Banksy art. Banksy has a point of view on the world. It rings like a bell. It infuses everything that Banksy does. I'm not even going to say he, because I'm not sure Banksy is, I have no idea what Banksy's gender is. But Banksy has a point of view, and it's what makes that work beautiful. The work itself is graphically specific and bounded, but it's the point of view that takes you on the journey of that piece of art. And I have a hard time imagining AI in any kind of deep creative exercise faking a point of view. But I could be totally wrong. I haven't seen an example that proves my point or is contrary to it. But that's my theory about AI, is that it will fall down when it...
Again, respect, right? Allows for the possibility that they could be wrong. That is a philosophy, a fundamental building block that needs to be nurtured and encouraged and given center stage. Just allowing for the possibility that you could be wrong.
It comes to that kind of thing. Oftentimes, there are directors who have a huge hit, and then they get their passion project as their next film, and it's not nearly as good. And it's not nearly as good because oftentimes for me, I'll find that if I see somebody's work who's really amazing and it made a ton of money, so they got absolute creative freedom, the next project sometimes feels like crap to me. And I've often thought to myself that it's about the script. The script, it doesn't earn the same points as the script for the film that made them famous. It doesn't have the same stakes. The beats are all there. I've seen so many scripts in which the beats are all there, but all the jokes are like first draft script jokes. And I think about writing as like, you can get the structure right and the narrative, not the narrative, you can get the structure of the narrative right, but it still might not involve you because the pieces of it haven't resonated. And so when you have to fight for the ideas in a script, frankly, I think the studio system, while creators will constantly complain about having masters, having to fight for your ideas makes your ideas better. ultimately. And I think some of the greatest films in the world have been made under the most egregious duress. Godfather. Go ask Francis Coppola what he thought about making Godfather. He said on stage in an interview with me, I would say there are highs and lows, but there were no highs. It was lows and lowers. And he hated every second of making that movie. But boy, does it have a really specific point of view, and boy, does that come out. And I feel like part of that is because he had to fight for it. Again, I don't know. I wasn't there, but this is just a theory that I work with to help me shape the world around me. Lee Marsh just gifted more members.
And respect also, because that is one of the questions that I ask. If we were to get the AI socialist utopia, right, where we don't have the struggles that we have today, then what does that mean for art? Now, I can already think of challenges because of the way my brain works. I already think of the challenges of like, well, we'll have new struggles. We'll have different struggles. We'll have like a different point of view. And the other thing is that the viewer of whatever is being created will be different, right? It's because we empathize and like can engage with the struggle because we struggle ourselves that we feel that, but that there might be a post struggle, not only creator process, but engagement process, viewing process. And we won't know because everything has to change in order to get there. And once we get there, then what?
Memberships. Drillbits Workshop donated $10. Drillbits Workshop asks a question that is a very reasonable question to finish on. What advice would you give to someone who loves making, but doesn't have a place to go to express their love for it, or people to talk to about it? Drillbits Workshop, I'm sorry that you don't have a place that you can go do it or people that you can exult with about it. I am really sorry about that because that's a lonely place to be. I will say a couple of things. You sent me
hydrate
this message over the internet, and in my opinion, while it is a cesspool of misogyny and death cults, the internet is also a magical place where people can find their weird sangha, their people. I had dinner with someone on a cruise. I had dinner on this cruise that I just went on, and I was wearing a baseball cap the whole time. And so I was mostly anonymous, and I had this lovely dinner with a couple who never figured out who I was. It was great. I was a civilian for the first time in a long time. And we were talking about finding your people. And one member of this couple had knitted so much over COVID, they started selling their knit hats at local flea markets. And a person came up to them at a flea market and said, "Would you like to come to my knitting retreat?" And they said, "Yes, I would." And their husband was like, "Are you crazy? You only just met this person. You're going to go away with them?" And she's like, "I just have a feeling." And she went away for this retreat for knitting and found her people. And she talked about how it changed her life. So you sent me this thing on the internet, and I'm here to say that is a fantastic tool for finding people to exult about the weird shit that you can't stop thinking about. And that, in my opinion, finding people to exult with about the stuff you make. I've been making stuff for over 40 years. We've been working on this gig here at Tested, which is some model making. So we've had Kate Sabaker and Mel Ho and some Sean Charlesworth and other folks over there building stuff all the time. And I am constantly running back and forth, showing off what I'm making and exult. Oh, and even over here, I hear people in the next room. Oh, look at that. Oh my God, look at, it's so exciting.
Right. Right, and that's why I err towards, like in that previous example I just laid out, that we might eliminate something that creates good in the world, but it's a sacrifice that I think that we should make, because more people will get to do more of what they would like vibe with. You know what I mean? Like we always, like in the political talk, it's always about the lesser of two evils, right? And it's, in this case, we're talking about the lesser of two goods. Though you get great movies sometimes, right? Within the function of the probability of how many movies are made and how many of them are good and how many of them are great. And I personally, like, you choose how you want to feel, but I personally would sacrifice that if it meant everyone who wanted to make a movie could. Right? Like, I would sacrifice The Godfather and Alien and 2001: A Space Odyssey. Right? The three of my favorite movies. The Godfather 2. I would sacrifice those if it meant that everyone who wanted to could make a Godfather 3 and an Alien Resurrection and a 2010, the year we made contact. Right? Those are lesser movies in the same vibe, but it's worth it, you know? Would as well. Who knows how many potential Godfathers there are out there that never came to fruition because of economic limitations. Like, yeah. Somewhere there's a kid who has a story that is going to appeal to a particular section of the population in a profound way, and that kid will never get to tell that story because instead he has to go to work at 14 years old and will spend the rest of his life scraping by. And it doesn't matter about passion, right? That if you want it bad enough, you will do the thing and like that. That's rugged individualism under other trappings, right? That kid is going to have to make a calculus between spending money on getting some sort of video camera that he could record his thing and helping his mom or dad or parents or grandma or whatever his thing is pay rent and buy food. And while, yeah, there are going to be kids who, like, they took the risk and they bought the camera and they made the great movie and now they're famous, the vast majority of people who meet those conditions are going to do that, and it's going to cost them. And this is not me, like, if you can follow your passion, I want you to, I really do. And I also understand what it means to take on additional responsibilities that you would prefer not to, but they need to be done. And you have to choose sometimes. And I want to put an end to that choice.
Exciting to share. I really hear you about the loneliness of not having someone to share it with. And I want to advise to try and find that on the internet. I hope you live in a place where maybe there's a municipality that has a makerspace. Makerspaces are great places to go to find that same kind of Sangha. I'm using the Buddhist word for the the group that gives you Succor, the group of your people, And I think that is a wonderful place to finish. I feel deeply that I am among my people, both here in the world and here online with you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you.
That was awesome. That last bit. I appreciate you, Chad. I really do. All right, one more.
I was just trolling through Reddit in the last few days, and I came across this post written by someone by the name of Mask of Man. The post title was, "Has anyone had this peculiar feeling lately?" And rather than editorialize it or cannibalize it for my own, I figured I would just read it as word for word as close as possible as I could give to you. Here it goes. Lately, I've been grappling with a feeling that's hard to articulate. As I drive around, I find myself contemplating the insane technological and social changes on the horizon, and I'm struck by the sense of isolation I feel. I often feel isolated in this temporal awareness, experiencing a sense of liminality, as if I'm at the tail end of a vast epoch of human history. It's like I'm standing at the end culmination of everything history has led up until now, right on the precipice of a radical shift. It's a mix of wistfulness for what is ending and excitement plus some incredulity for what is to come. Together with GPT-4, I have explored this emotion in depth, giving it a name, a formal definition, and even crafting a short passage to encapsulate this experience. We've coined the term vesperance, combining vesper, meaning evening, with esperance, denoting hope or desire. The term captures the dual awareness of an ending era and the hopeful anticipation of a new world yet to be born. The formal definition we settled on was this: vesperance, noun. The solitary emotion of wistful recognition of the present as a fading era, tinged with anticipation for an unrecognizable, transformative future. The following passage, I think, does a really great job of exemplifying it. I went in depth with GPT-4 about how it felt, and we settled on this as a good illustration. Vesperance is that bittersweet moment when you're driving through your quiet college town, windows down, and the air feels thick with possibility. It's the golden hour of an era. And you're actually aware that you're riding the last rays of a setting sun. You look around and see the world in the simplicity of the now, cognizant of the tectonic shifts on the horizon. And in that instant, you're both a poet and a prophet. You feel a sense of loss for this beautiful, imperfect world that doesn't even know it's already a memory. Yet there's a thrill, a pulse of electric anticipation for the unfathomable future that's rushing towards you. Vesperance is the emotional echo in that liminal space, where the nostalgia for what's behind you is tinged with the exhilarating unknown of what lies ahead. It's not just an emotion, it's a narrative, a story where you're both the reader and the protagonist, caught in the poignant pause between chapters, unable to resist turning the page. I hope this resonates with some of you guys out here. I'm really curious to know if any of you can relate to this really odd feeling. It's an intense one, and it felt important enough to delve into. I appreciate any feedback. So that was the post. He obviously added a few comments and edits, and I'm not going to reduplicate all of that, but I wanted to share this with everyone. And now I will editorialize a little bit for myself. What he's talking about is something that I have certainly felt, which is why I wanted to record this and produce a video and share it, because I think that this is really important. This sense of vesperance is what we are all experiencing as we recognize the dying light as the sun sets on an entire era of not just our species, but on this planet. And given the possibility that this is the only planet with life on it, or at least certainly the only one that we know has life on it, there is a magnitude beyond anything we can wrap our minds around about the gathering night that we're going into. Now, as someone who studied fiction and mythology and psychology, the night is an archetype. In Game of Thrones, there was an archetypal kind of mythic reference for the night is dark and full of terror. And of course, that's a little bit cartoonish, but there is truth in it, which is why it resonated. And indeed, many people are terrified of what's to come, whether It's as simple as things are going to change and they're not going to be the same. We might lose our jobs. AI might destroy everything that we know. We might lose control, even our relationship to ourselves, and control over our destiny might be taken from us by our own creation. And that is what is captured in this term Vesperance, the golden hour of our civilization, and the recognition that when the new dawn comes, everything will be different. The people we are today will not come out the other side. And I'm not saying necessarily that we're going to be all transhuman or posthuman, although that's looking more and more like a distinct possibility every day. On any given day, you can find several posts about nanotechnology and genetic technology, and it's coming faster and faster. And so while this ritualistic approach into night, this descent into what is coming, feels overwhelming, it is also exciting. It's this weird dichotomy that is captured by this term Vesperance. But one thing that I want to leave everyone with is the observation that the dawn always comes. Whether or not we make it happen, and whether or not we survive the night, the dawn comes. And so I will leave you with one final sentiment. Enjoy this sense of Vesperance while we have it. This is a once in an eon occurrence. Those we become when this new dawn breaks will be different and forever changed. Much will be asked of us, and we need courage now. So gather your strength. We will need it for this falling night.
I'm gonna ask something of you. Like normally right now it would raid out and all that. And I know some of you are doing other stuff you might not be able to, but rather than raid out and rather than just move on to the next thing, I would like you to just take a pause, right? Find a quiet space, go outside, something of that nature. And just whatever that idea made you feel, whatever you think about, just get in touch with like where we are, where we're going, what that's going to look like, what that's going to look like to you. And just be in that for just this little bit of time. Couple minutes, 2, 3, 5, 10, 15, whatever works for you. But just really feel it for a minute, really think about it, and then go back about your day. Right? And wherever you go, I hope you have a great time, but take that pause. Okay? And I will see you all on Wednesday.